Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting for the afternoon of November 28th. I'm pleased to call this meeting to order. Tony, would you please call the roll?
Present.
Present. Present.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Here. Thank you, Tony. Okay, if you are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Today's invocation will be given by the Leland High School Chamber Choral, and Council Member Batra will tell us more.
Mayor and council members, today we have a very awesome and unique group joining us here to perform our invocation. The Leland High School Chamber Chorale was established during the 2005 school year in response to a demand for musical expression. Since its creation, it has been a haven for dedicated students with a passion for musical excellence. The Chamber Chorale at Leland High School comprises of 15 talented students. These students discover not only the joy of singing, but also the deep sense of camaraderie that comes from creating beautiful music together. A worthy achievement of their ensemble occurred in 2015 when they had the privilege of performing at the Carnegie Hall, an experience that resonates as a testament to the dedication and talent of their choir members. Over the years, Leland High School Chamber Chorale has not only serenaded the halls of Leland High School, but has also left its mark on Southern California, gracing the cities of Los Angeles and San Diego. Today, they're leaving their mark on our city. Thank you to Music Director Ryan Rodriguez and our Leland High School Chamber Chorale for providing our invocation today.
Servus desiderata fontes aquarum, servus desiderata fontes exultate Justi in Domino rectus dege collaudatio. Confitemini Domino, confitemini Domino, incitora. Confitemini Domino, incitara. In salterio decegodaru, in salterio decegodaru, salite ili, salite ili, salite ili. Cantat Dei, cantat Dei, canticum novum bene salite in vociferazione. Bene salite, bene salite, bene salite, bene salite. Vociferazione, vociferazione, in vociferazione. Exultate Justi in Domino rectus dece collaudatio. Collaudatio.
If all the council members and the mayor want to come down and get a picture with them.
Sure. Thank you all again. Really appreciate you sharing your beautiful voices with us. All right, we are on to ceremonial items. Councilor Foley, if you would join me at the podium, we will recognize and proclaim December 1st as World AIDS Day.
Gabrielle and friends, please come forward.
Sorry, I didn't have you on my notes. That's all right. Apologies.
I have one. Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Pam Foley, and today I'm honored to recognize this Friday, November 1st, as World AIDS Day alongside Councilmember Omar Torres. Beginning in 1988 and recognized annually on December 1st, World AIDS Day is a global event to remember those who have lost their lives to AIDS-related illnesses and to honor and support those living and affected by HIV/AIDS. World AIDS Day unites people worldwide to show support for the more than 1.2 million people living with HIV/AIDS in the United States and the approximately 38 million people living with HIV/AIDS worldwide. You know, I'm fairly emotional on this day as we go forward. I've told this story many, many times. This proclamation has deep personal meaning to me. Many of you have heard the story that my brother Tim passed away 27 years ago through AIDS-complicated illnesses. I happened to be pregnant with my daughter Caitlin at the time, and I actually named her Caitlin Timothy Foley after my brother. I miss him every day. Prior to his passing, I actually wrote him a letter, attempting to give him the strength to live long enough to meet his niece. I was never able to send the letter, as he was sicker than I knew, and he passed away actually a day later. Over the last 3 decades, there have been many advancements in drug treatments, and boy, if he just held on a couple months more, he would have had those drug treatments. The drug treatments have reduced the transmission and acquisition of HIV/AIDS, transforming it for many into a manageable chronic condition. It makes me proud to see the remarkable progress this has made, as Tim likely could have benefited from the treatments that allow so many to see near normal lifespans today. The City of San Jose recognizes the essential role of the advocates who continue to fight the HIV/AIDS epidemic, such as organizations, community health workers, and Santa Clara County World AIDS Day Committee, and I have some of those folks here today who volunteer. This Friday, World AIDS Day, 35th year, Councilmember Torres and I will be hosting multiple events in San Jose, open for all the community to attend, and we honor and commemorate all of those impacted by the disease. We have a flag-raising ceremony in the plaza at 5:30, followed by the AIDS Memorial Quilt. Pieces of it will be on display, and a candlelight vigil at Billy DeFrank. That will begin around 6 o'clock. Please join us as we use this day to remember those who have been impacted by HIV/AIDS and recommit ourselves against the disease itself and against the stigma and discrimination that has been tied to it for far too long. I'd like to invite Gabrielle Antalovich from the Billy DeFrank Center to accept this proclamation and say a few words.
Thank you, council members Pam Foley and Omar Torres. I actually lived through the AIDS pandemic. I was living in Los Angeles in the early 1980s, living with my best friend who was a gay man. And as soon as he found out he was HIV positive, I encouraged him to move to San Francisco, where at the time, that was the only place where there were decent services for people for him. And it saved his life because he didn't die until 3 years ago, so yay. He had a life that he could live. And now, we have found that places like San Jose and Los Angeles do have services that save people's lives from HIV. But what really happened in the 1980s is that there was a resistance to helping the gay men who were dying. It was an excuse to express anti-gay bigotry, and we had to fight through ACT UP to get the government to do something to bring about all kinds of services to help. Because, what happened is that the gay men were dying, and us non-binary, lesbians, and transgender folks, we had to step in and take care of them. And it was the first time in at least 10 years that the LGBTQ plus community began to work together. In the 1970s, we were kind of separated out. But in the 1980s, it brought us together, and I don't think we have separated since then. And that's why the Billy DeFrank LGBTQ plus Community Center is such an impactful place, because all parts of our community are welcome there, including allies. That's a really important aspect. So if you're an ally, you're welcome there too. So I'm really happy that for the first time that we will have the AIDS quilt at the Billy DeFrank Center On Friday, December 1st, we will be open from noon to 8 if you want to come and meditate on the panels. I was in Washington, D.C. in 1987 when there were thousands of panels in a row outside. And walking through the panels, you could feel the impact of people dying. It was a very moving experience. And now the AIDS quilt is 54-ton heavy, and it represents over 110,000 people in the panels. And that's not all of them. And I just want to say that it is the biggest worldwide art expression of LGBTQ heart that the world has ever seen. It was actually nominated for a Nobel Prize because it's so amazing that people came together despite the bigotry, and we fought that. And yes, it was ugly at times, the fight. ACT UP was such a necessary, bombastic fight, and we won. And now we have services even in Santa Clara County, and a supportive city council that supports all aspects of our community. And I am very happy to say that the Billy DeFrank Center also has a positives discussion group for thrivers of survivors of HIV, people who are over 50 who are thriving because of the services that have been available. Thank you so much.
With that, Mayor, would you please present the proclamation to Gabrielle?
I'm just going to stand here. Back up, back up.
All right, Councilmember Ortiz, please join me at the podium, and we will recognize and proclaim November 25th as Small Business Saturday.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the ARVBA, Alum Rock Village Business Association, for joining us today. Good afternoon, everyone. With the Thanksgiving holiday behind us, we all saw, and maybe even did some our own, of holiday shopping this past weekend. As we make our way into the busiest shopping season of the year, I wanted to proclaim November 25th as Small Business Saturday, to highlight the importance of shopping small and local. Did you know that San Jose is home to over 60,000 small businesses that each anchor our diverse communities, serve as a major source of employment, and provide a pathway to social mobility and, of course, the American dream? Whether you're shopping at East San Jose's premier Alum Rock and Alum Rock Village, or over at Tully Road, or maybe you found yourself at the diverse Calle Willow Business District, or of course the historic Alameda, rest assured that the perfect present is likely at a small and local business. And get this, when you shop local, you're not only securing that perfect present, but you're also supporting someone's dream and, of course, livelihood. I'm thrilled to know and support our city's commitment to help promote our many unique, diverse, and thriving businesses throughout the city of San Jose. As the City Council member for District 5, I warmly welcome all of you to our Alum Rock Village and Alum Rock Corridor, so you can discover all of our many unique boutique businesses. I also encourage you to visit sjeconomy.com/shop-local-sj and the Holiday San Jose page so you can explore and learn about San Jose's very unique business corridors. I truly believe that it's important to patronize and uplift our amazing small businesses and business districts, as well as to support the unique needs of small business owners, employees, and the communities that they serve. That's why I'm grateful for the advocacy and leadership of organizations like the Alum Rock Village Business Association, co-founded by Jesus Flores, president of the Latino Business Foundation. He's on vacation, or he would be here, and led by Dr. Nguyen, and the incredible board present here today. Through their organization, we've seen positive effects such as a monthly litter cleanup, coordinated holiday lighting, the formation of a business neighborhood watch, and their newly acquired status as a 501c3. Among many other initiatives they have planned for the new year. I was also thrilled to support the association through various budget documents this year. That'll create a safety pilot program through the installation of security cameras, a power wash program to clean up the corridors and the storefronts in the business district, in a budget document to create a Welcome to the Alum Rock Village sign to create a sense of place in the village. Finally, let me remind you that although we're proclaiming November 25th as Small Business Saturday, every day is an opportunity to shop small and shop local. With that being said, I'd like to invite Dr. Nguyen to receive the proclamation, but first say a few words.
Thank you. We are honored to be here today, present today, and representing the Alum Rock Village Business Association. I have with myself some of our officers, and we've been formed. We formed a year and a half ago, and we are going strong. We have over 50 businesses in our Alum Rock community. Our business association would not be possible without all the small businesses that have lent their helping hand to make our community a safer and stronger neighborhood for all the children and families that live there. I would like to especially thank Councilmember Peter Ortiz and his staff, and our mayor and your staff for all the support that you've given us in order for us to form our business association to this day. And we understand that without your continued support financially and also guidance, we will not be able to be as strong as we are today and united as we are today. So we firmly thank you for your support.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, and I'd like to please ask the mayor to present the proclamation. Thank you so much.
All right, and finally, our third ceremonial item of the day, Councilmember Foley will come down on behalf of Councilmember Davis to help recognize and proclaim National Adoption Month.
Christine, please join me. Good afternoon. I'm standing in for Councilmember Dev Davis today, who was unable to present this in person, so I'm going to quote her. Today, I proclaim November as National Adoption Month to draw attention to the thousands of children nationwide in foster care who are awaiting permanent and loving homes. Many children in foster care have experienced instability and uncertainty. Adoption offers them the opportunity for a permanent, loving, and stable home environment, providing a sense of belonging and security. The foster care system is overwhelmed and in great need of adoptive parents. If you are considering adoption, I invite you to visit the adoption page under the Santa Clara County Social Services website. You can find resources and information on the process to become an adoptive parent. One of these great resources includes the Kinship, Adoptive, and Foster Parent Association, CAFPA. Is that right? Which provides resources and advocates for the needs of kinship, adoptive, and foster families in Santa Clara County. I cannot say enough wonderful things about this organization. They were very helpful to me, to my husband and me, when we adopted our 2 children over a decade ago. And I have continued to lean on CAFPA staff members and other adoptive parents I met at events as my children have progressed through childhood, adolescence, and now early adulthood. End quote. Christine Thurman is a parent advocate and program administrator with the Kinship, Adoptive, and Foster Parent Association, and an adoptive foster parent like Councilmember Davis. I'd like to invite her to say a few words.
Thank you. On behalf of the Kinship Adoptive Foster Parent Association, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging and celebrating National Adoption Day, or National Adoption Month. I'm a resource parent advocate, but I'm also a foster parent to a teenager that I've had in my care for 9 years. Sorry. And I'm also an adoptive parent to 2 children that I've had for the last 9-10 years. And so adoption to me is a time of hope and joy and celebration that we're able to provide a forever home for our children, to provide a forever family for them. However, I'd like for us to keep in mind and be mindful that our children don't always pick us. And I like to be mindful of the biological families who willingly gave their children to us or had their children removed from them. And I bring this up because last week I received a phone call from a mother who was searching for her son. He was born November 2nd of 2021. And at the time, she admitted that her life was in chaos. Her baby was removed at birth from the hospital, and 2 years later, she's been thinking about him every day. She's looking for him now. She doesn't know where he is. She wants to know where he is, who's caring for him, how he's doing. She wants to name him. And because her life was chaotic, she didn't have stable housing, she didn't receive any notices from the social worker, from DFCS, from the court system. So the phone call to CAFPA was a start for her to see how we can help her find her son. And so I'd like for us to be mindful of the families, the biological families as well. And as we celebrate National Adoption Month. So once again, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to receive this proclamation. And we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. It's painful. Mayor, would you please present the proclamation to Christine?
All right, we're on to orders of the day. Does anyone on the council have any changes to the printed agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have a report out of closed session today.
Okay, thank you. Next is the consent calendar. Are there any items that the council would like to pull from the consent calendar? All right, do we have a motion?
Move approval of consent.
Second.
Great, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. What I'd like to talk about is I could have told you that Sam Liccardo was a liar. You wouldn't have had to pay $500,000 to Spotlight in order for that to be proven as fact. We all know that Sam Liccardo was a liar, and now he's running for congressman. I mean, how disgusting and how straight-faced does the city got to be in order to understand that we have people that lie, bold-faced lie, sitting on this dais, and will continue to bold-faced lie, and then when they get caught, you guys are spending my money. I don't like the fact that $500,000 of my money is going to go to prove that Sam Liccardo was a liar to Spotlight when all of you already knew that, including my mayor, Curran. Secondly, the consent calendar very specifically states in your laws that you cannot have anything on consent that is over $1 million. Anything on the consent calendar that exceeds $1 million, you must have it agendized as an item. This is a law, people. It's a law. Every single time you pass an item on this calendar, on this consent calendar, you are in violation of the law, because you have on here right now, you're upping somebody's income from $200,000 to $2 million. And you think that that's because it's your money and you guys are boss. You answer to us. You answer to the people. The people don't answer to you. You are elected officials. We put you in office, which means that we demand answers. And when we want answers, we demand them. We don't have to ask you politely. There ain't nothing polite about democracy. How was democracy founded? And what you guys are doing is
Back to council.
Thank you. I don't see any hands. Let's vote.
Hold on, just give me a sec. Oh, there it is. Motion passes 10-0 with Dev Davis absent.
Okay, thank you. Next is land use consent. Do we have questions or a motion? I'll move approval. Thank you. Councilmember Jimenez moves. Do we have a second? Second. Councilmember Torres seconds. Do we have any public comment?
Paul Soto?
This is regarding the Mills Act, and the Hayes Mansion history needs to be amended. I was in attendance at the Historical Landmarks Commission meeting, and we discussed this. E.A. Hayes was one of the most racist politicians that we have ever had. He was connected to Senator James Phelan, which History San Jose's street name is on there. That's another disgusting fact that we're going to discuss later. But E.A. Hayes gave a speech to Congress in 1906 where he very explicitly talked about immigration and specifically called out the Mexican and the Japanese. Now, this is just a matter of historical record. What bothers me as a historian, as a legitimate historian here in the city of San Jose, is the city's reluctance to amend those histories. Now, they're going to get tax breaks for this. Now, what all I'm asking for is two things. That in exchange for what it is that we are offering them, I want two things. Number one, I want tours of the Hayes Mansion every fall and spring equinox, twice a year. I want free tours, and I want them to serve lunch. I want to eat lunch in the Hayes Mansion, open to the public, in exchange for these gifts that we're giving them, tax breaks. Secondly, I want for there to be a committee at the Hayes Mansion in order to amend that history so that it more accurately reflects who it is that E.A. Hayes was and Mary Chenoweth Hayes was.
Back to council.
Thank you. Turning to council, I believe we're ready to vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Great, thank you. On to the report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report today.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, there will be a combined 10-minute presentation for items 3.3 and 3.4, though we will vote on each item separately. So we'll let staff come down to the box and get ready to present. So again, we're on to items 3.3 and 3.4.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. My name is Sarah Sarate. I'm the Director of the Office of Administration, Policy, and Intergovernmental Relations. I'm joined today by the Intergovernmental Relations team, including Zane Barnes, Kaylin Kenny, and Steve Stamos. Our federal and state lobbying partners are also here. Leslie Pullner from Holland & Knight, she's on Zoom, and Steve Cruz from Cruz Strategies. We're happy to present to you both items 3.3 and 3.4, our 2023 Fall Intergovernmental Relations Report and our 2024 Legislative Program and Priorities. I'll hand it over now to the team, starting with Kaylin Kenny to kick it off.
IGR's work is extensive. This is our attempt to summarize our activities since July. Our work is about partnerships, networks, and collaboration. By working with internal and external teams, over $390 million was brought into the area in various forms of federal, state, and regional funding. This includes funding through successful grant awards and MTC funding for BART Phase 2. We're tracking over 395 state and federal bills, many of which the city has taken an active position on. Since July, we've issued over 42 advocacy letters on legislation, grant funding, and the city's priorities. We successfully passed our city-sponsored bill, AB 645, on automated speed enforcement through the legislature. Thank you all for your active engagement on this bill. This was a culmination of many years of effort, and this work will prevent traffic injuries and fatalities in San Jose. Today, we'll start with item 3.3, the Fall Intergovernmental Relations Report, and provide a brief overview on recent developments at the federal and state levels, a quick review of some of the city's priority bills, and an update on our advocacy efforts. The bills we'll discuss today are only a snapshot. A more extensive list of city positions can be found in the federal and state legislative logs, which are attachments A and B in the memo. On the federal side, the city's IGR team successfully advocated for the inclusion of $3.7 million in congressionally directed spending, informally known as earmarks, in House appropriations bills. This funding is still pending the final federal budget. We also worked with the city's Department of Transportation and the city's Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services to secure a total of $6.6 million in Inflation Reduction Act funding for urban forestry efforts. We also worked with several city departments on pending federal grants. Congress has been able to avoid a federal shutdown once more in their path towards passing a federal budget. On November 17th, President Biden signed a laddered continuing resolution to stagger funding deadline extensions. A number of federal appropriations bills were extended into January, and the rest into early February. If Congress is unable to pass an omnibus package, a 1% spending cut across the board is slated to take effect on April 30th, 2024, as previously negotiated in the June 2023 under the debt ceiling deal. President Biden also submitted $56 billion in supplemental funding requests to Congress, including funding for child care and disaster relief, and $6 billion for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which the IGR team has been advocating for in partnership with IT and library staff. Given the current dynamics in the House, it is unclear whether Congress will fully consider or pass the President's request. I will now pass to Steve Stamos.
Thank you, Kaylin. My name is Steve Stamos, and I'll be presenting the next couple slides. On the state side, we'll highlight IGR's funding advocacy, provide updates on key legislation, and preview the 2024 legislative session. In September, the police department was awarded $8.5 million in state grant funding to combat retail theft. Throughout the year, IGR worked with partners to protect transit and inner-city rail capital program funding for the BART extension, $375 million of which was awarded, and the remaining $375 million, which was recently endorsed by the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. IGR also led the successful passage of Assembly Bill 645, as Kaylin highlighted. Here we have also laid out the key themes from this state legislative session, such as homelessness and mental health, and want to highlight that we will be coming back to Council next year for the Council to take positions on state ballot measures. Throughout 2023, we also continued our engagement on bills that impact San Jose's card rooms. In the legislature, we now have Northern California leadership in both the state Senate and Assembly, with Assemblymember Rivas assuming the speakership role and Senator McGuire assuming the pro tem role. We are hopeful that having this local representation will benefit our advocacy efforts. Finally, we have also deepened our relationships with our state delegation by engaging with the local district offices more closely. IGR is monitoring a number of two-year bills for the second year of the two-year legislative cycle, which will start up next month in January. In particular, SB 450 would update SB 9 ADU regulations. In the last legislative session, we actively worked with the author's office on amendment language for that bill. We continue to monitor AB 441, which would streamline some of the county public health permits for food vendors at night markets. The 4 climate bond bills are still being negotiated and may appear on the November 2024 ballot, and we've been actively working with Valley Water on potential amendments to those bills. AB 1505 would allow the State Office of Emergency Services to use federal funds from the Hazard Mitigation and Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant programs. And lastly, SB 466 is currently a stalled effort to reform Costa-Hawkins. So with that, I will pass to Zane Barnes to discuss the legislative program.
Now we'll cover item 3.4, providing an update to the city's legislative priorities and providing an overview of development of the city's 2024 legislative program. The content that we'll discuss around the legislative program is only a snapshot. The full document can be found in the attachment to this item. IGR is guided by 5 legislative priorities as approved by Council in December of 2022, and these priorities inform how IGR focuses the city's advocacy resources. Next slide. We are recommending updated legislative priorities for 2024 that have been drafted through the evaluation of the city's legislative and funding needs, legislative windows that may be available, and finding synergy with the 4 council-approved focus areas. All departments have been consulted in the development of the legislative program and legislative priorities. The proposed legislative priorities are reduce unsheltered homelessness, support unhoused residents, and increase affordable housing supply. Next, enhance community safety and promote Vision Zero initiatives. Next, advocate for educational and employment opportunities that foster equitable outcomes for San Jose families. Next is catalyze downtown revitalization and cultivate equitable investment in our neighborhoods. And finally, pursue funding for equitable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure and advance San Jose's climate smart goals. Next slide. One other element of our legislative program is the bifurcation of our federal priorities. This separate section was created with the aim of maximizing engagement with our federal delegation, further focusing our lobbying resources at the federal level, and enhancing communication with federal stakeholders and partners. Next slide. In terms of potential city-sponsored legislation, we're looking at 4 opportunities that are tied to our legislative priorities. First, we're working with Assemblymember Alvarez and the Blight Working Group that he has assembled to look at legislative opportunities to address blight and challenges around recreational or lived-in vehicles. We've also been working with Senator Becker's team on SB 634, which provides opt-in zoning for EIH construction on public and private sites. Last year, SB 76 was a piece of legislation that established entertainment zones to aid pedestrian space activation. With this legislation was previously limited to the city and county of San Francisco, we are looking to secure similar legislation applicable to San Jose. Finally, we're working with Senator Blakespear on her gun harm liability insurance bill that would add questions regarding gun ownership when getting renters or homeowners insurance, where we focused a good amount of effort last year. Next slide. Also, we have tiered our legislative efforts according to the level of effort expected. We will spend considerable effort in monitoring the plethora of ballot measures and expect to exert a good amount of effort in limiting any attempt to narrow the scope of ACA 1. We have also begun conversations on possible legislative effort to address the downzoning in San Jose is experiencing with Builder's Remedy, and considerable effort will be spent to protect the city's tax revenue and protect our card room's ability to operate. On the third tier, we'll continue to monitor for opportunities to have a legislative remedy to create a common application for affordable housing development, construction defect liability reform, pre-leasing for condominium development, as well as potential legislative efforts to further address housing, economic development, transportation, mental health, energy, and our resiliency efforts. Next slide. To drive legislative wins, IGR uses a number of coalitions. While we find alignment separately with different coalitions, we have noted a few of them here. The Big City Mayors Coalition has been especially helpful in securing homelessness funding, youth workforce formula funding, and assistance with budget priorities. The League of California Cities is especially helpful in our advocacy for local control, transportation, and alignment on ballot measures. Also, although primarily leveraged by the Department of Transportation, Cacti were especially helpful as we get automated speed enforcement to become a reality. We also use coalitions at the national level. The U.S. Conference of Mayors has been incredibly helpful in advocacy on public safety, housing, and transportation. And similarly, the National League of Cities has been especially helpful on family-focused legislation, fiscal stability, and transportation. In this fiscal year, IGR will continue to focus on regional coordination, greater engagement with our citywide legislative team, raising the profile of San Jose, as well as a pointed effort to expand our alliances and work with coalitions. Finally, I wanted to note that IGR recently launched a letter of support request form on our external website to streamline this process and capture the quantification of our impact. Next slide. This concludes our presentation. We also want to recognize that our work is possible due to engaged department subject matter experts, as well as our partners in the Mayor's Office, Ryan Coonerty and Mackenzie Mossing. We're asking Council to, 1, accept the fall IGR report, 2, reaffirm city positions in the federal and state legislative logs, and adopt the 2024 legislative program and legislative priorities. Thank you, and we look forward to your questions.
Great, thanks, Zane. Just before we go to public comment, I really want to thank Sarah, Zane, the whole IGR team, and our teams in Sacramento and DC. Steve, thanks for being here. Leslie, I know you're on the Zoom. Thank you for joining us. My team and I have really enjoyed working closely with you to advocate for the city's interest in Sacramento and Washington. I think you guys do a fantastic job and appreciate how hard you fight to bring resources back to our community. I have a few other comments and questions, but I'll save that for after public comment. Tony, do we have any public comment?
Yeah, I have Paul followed by Sandra.
Yes, Paul Sutherland from the Horseshoe. In order for you to really address the issues that were outlined in this report, is you have to accurately assess the problem. From 2016 until recent quarter, 95 to 115% of market rate housing goals have been met within the same exact time period. Only 25% of ELI, BLI, the rest of us.
Paul? Paul, we've lost your audio. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next speaker. Sandra, followed by Jordan.
Council, thank you very much for your time. I'm calling because I'm concerned about the legislation that you are continuing to support that will increase taxes, especially during a time when we've already spent a significant amount of money and not solving the issues. I appreciate Councilmember Bien's proposal that we not endorse all of these, that they require further study, that they are undermining Prop 13. They are lowering the ability for us as citizens and voters to have says in things, and they're making it easier for you to spend money without accountability. These are going issues that will hit in your election for those of you who are rerunning or running for office. They've already appeared in some questions and meet and greets. They will appear more often. How you vote and what you say will be quoted. Thank you.
Jordan, followed by Tobin.
A couple comments. One is there have been reports recently from whistleblowers at Caltrans about misuse of funds that were supposed to be spent on active transportation that were instead spent on highway expansion and similar projects. There are various groups calling on the governor to do audits of Caltrans and such. If there are legislative efforts to that, about that, I would encourage us to be supporting those kinds of initiatives to try and bring more accountability to Caltrans and get the funding properly to active transportation projects. I'd also encourage the continued support of Costa-Hawkins fix-ups, regardless of how you feel about rent control. It's kind of silly that there's a fixed date for when you can apply local rent control, which is not something that's true for Prop 13, and it's not something that's true for state rent control. So I think it does make sense to reform that. On Vision Zero, also just a reminder that Vision Zero is also tied to homelessness initiatives, since a lot of people who are killed on our streets are homeless. So just a reminder that those are very related projects. And I encourage not only seeking funding for various climate projects, but also delivering, whatever legislative changes are needed to actually advance our climate goals in ways that aren't just related to funding and grants and whatnot. Thank you.
Tobin, followed by Angel. Okay, moving on, Angel, followed by Ruthie.
Hi, my name is Anel Aliano with Silicon Valley Council of Nonprofits, a coalition of community-based organizations that seek to build thriving and equitable communities in the region. As representatives of local food providers, we keenly recognize the need for programs that directly address food insecurity in San Jose. And when our communities faced unprecedented hunger in 2020, or I should say an unprecedented hunger crisis in 2020, the city reached out to several local hunger relief organizations to increase meal service for the growing number of residents impacted by the pandemic. And despite food insecurity programs facing serious cuts after pandemic dollars dried up, the need for hunger relief services are still present and growing by the day, with Second Harvest serving an additional 5,000 individuals since last year. These programs offer a vital lifeline to our city's most vulnerable residents, which is why we support Councilmember Torres's memo from this morning, which directs staff to seek state and federal grants for food insecurity programs as part of its 2024 legislative program. Thanks a ton for the opportunity to speak.
Ruthie, followed by Tobin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Ruth Callahan. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'd like to speak against this particular activity that the city does because you're advocating on behalf of all the citizens with a capital C who vote, and you're assigning to us endorsements that we do not agree with. We are not in favor of increasing taxes. We are not in favor of Prop 13 being eliminated. We are not in favor of many of these things. And yet you go to Sacramento and spend $500,000 of our money saying that all the citizens of San Jose are for this, and we're not. There should be open discussion with each one of our council people and have a lobbying session with them so we can let them know how we feel before the city spends money on our behalf saying that we endorse these things. Also, I've read a couple of these general obligation bonds, and there are poison pills in all of them. For example, the mental health bond, only 20% of those billions, which will funnel down into a very smaller amount that the city will get from the county, only 20% are going into brick and mortar. The rest, 80%, are going into other services for infrastructure for disadvantaged communities and people with disabling conditions. That has nothing to do with mental health. So please, don't advocate on my behalf without asking me how I feel about it. Thank you for this time. That's all.
Tobin?
Hi, this is Tobin Gilman. I'm with Families and Homes, and I'm calling in support of Councilmember Dewan's memo. And we oppose ACA 1, we oppose ACA 13, and we strongly support the Taxpayer Protection Act. It is very disappointing that the council has been engaging in activities to use city resources, city staff, and taxpayer dollars to advocate for positions, take positions on issues that are this consequential with zero input from the community. And I'm calling on you to do two things. First of all, get input from your constituents. And number two, if you're going to advocate and you're going to represent the city in promoting new tax legislation, consequential statewide legislation, then please tell your constituents about it. Because very few people know about your vote in February for the resolution for the opposing the TPA. Very few people knew about your vote on the IGR report in August, where you promoted the lobbying for ACA 1 and other tax issues. So again, please at least be transparent about it. And if there are any reporters in the room today listening in, there's a huge story underneath your nose about what the council has been doing on several pieces of legislation that are arguably the most consequential in the 45 years of the history of Proposition 13. Thank you.
Back to council.
Great, thank you, Tony. All right, I'm going to turn to my colleagues first. Looks like we have a lot of interest in this item. Most hands are up. We will start with Councilmember Cohen. Or, I'm sorry, Councilmember Dewan, I think you were first and then you dropped out of the list. Were you still
Yes,
there?
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead and go
But,
first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, IGR team. I know you have did an incredible job putting this report. Every year, our intergovernmental relation team performed the difficult task of monitoring the bills, ballots initiative, and legislation at all levels of the government affecting the city of San Jose. They take the direction from the council and work tirelessly on the behalf of the residents of San Jose to help us flex our political muscle at the state capitol and even in Washington, D.C., resulting in many positive improvements for our city. There are, however, issues which need to be resolved going forward. Clarification on what a vote in the affirmative means for all items in this report. including whether a recommendation is active, dead, or completed. A short 20 minutes presentation to describe over 395 pieces of legislation that they are tracking does not do this report justice. Combine this with the fact that we are only given a week to review thousands of pages of text is insufficient. A full-on study session is desperately needed going forward to adequately review these bills the City Council voting on. Additionally, due to the nature of politics, there are many issues we will agree on, and there will be some that are more contentious that we won't see eye to eye on, but are just as important. Currently, there are one item that council member does not agree with is important enough to that person, then it's prohibit the elected official from voting for all the other items on this staff recommendation list. That's eliminated the ability for consensus and divides our city. Out of the 395 recommendations, I identified 23 positions that fit in this category. Some, like AB 12, AB 1319, AB 567, have already been signed into law. And I wonder why they are still in the attachment B for the council to approve work on. Others, like AB 531, appear to be on the ballot in 2024. And I again wonder why they are on this report for our approval. SB 400 was killed due to technical error, but we have sponsorship position on it still. What does this mean? At this moment, mainly due to the lack of clarity of information, but also because I disagree with some of these 23 statewide bills, I'm requesting that my colleagues delay a vote on these 23 items, only so we can return to them in January for further discussion and take a separate vote on them, either as a complete group, multiple smaller groups, or individually if warranted. Therefore, I motion for my memo to be approved to vote on the 372 other recommendation now, and the 23 others that are listed in January, with the addition of directing staff to provide a study session for the IGR recommendation report every year going forward beginning 2024.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Batra, with the second motion from Councilor Dewan. I would also suggest, if it's the will of the council to move forward, another option may be bifurcation so that people can vote on different pieces of the package. So maybe some different options here, but appreciate we've got a motion on the floor. And Councilor Dewan, did you have any questions for staff in there, or are you good there?
No. Not at this point. We like I said, there's 23 items that I disagreed upon, and definitely need a study session to understand a lot of these legislature.
Okay, thank you. We're on to Councilor Cohn.
Yes, thank you. And first I want to thank our IGR team, and you know from all our past discussions how much I appreciate the work that you do advocating for our city's priorities at the state and federal level. It's really, really valuable and really important, and something that, as I've mentioned before, most cities don't have the luxury to have. You know, most cities rely on on organizations like the League of Cities, of which I'm on the board, but rely on them that not even to advocate on the behalf of all cities without even strong local input on what their priorities are, and rely on these large statewide organizations to lobby for legislation that are assumed to be good, right for all cities, but we have the ability to say what we think is important for our city. And we've done a great work together in setting up our priorities, and all of which have been discussed and voted on in various ways over the years as these things have come forward, and you've done a great job of advocating for those positions. You know, the report that we be approving here is a report that talks about both past work and future work. It's not necessarily a statement of support, but it's also a statement of here is what we've done, and these bills have been signed into law, and we advocated for them. And we appreciate your advocacy for what I think are very important bills. And some of these are bills that we actually were sponsors of as a city. And, but approving this does not indicate anybody's individual support or opposition to any individual bills on the list, but says, hey, we're accepting the report of work that you did very diligently on our behalf. So certainly for all the bills that have already passed the legislature and been signed into law, there's no reason for us to continue to discuss whether or not we would continue to support them. They are now law. So we ought to, appreciate your work, thank you, and approve that part of the report. I'm also really proud of our city's leadership on certain issues where we've taken positions that are cutting edge, I believe. And SB 8 and being a sponsor for SB 8 is really important. SB 8 is a great bill that talks about that we had a long, extensive discussion as a council, not 100% agreement, but a very extensive discussion about what we think is right in order to improve the safety of our citizens and the citizens of the state of California. I'm very proud that now the state of California is having a discussion about taking some ideas that we developed as the city of San Jose and bringing them forward to the state level, and I appreciate our continuing sponsorship of that legislation and some of the other bills on this list. Question for you, because I think there's a misunderstanding. 3 of these are, of the bills that are on this list that Councilmember Dewan has put out, are ballot measure, either bond or ballot measures related to changing our state constitution that have been passed and signed into law, but at this point, all that has done is sign them into putting them on the ballot. And obviously, the voters will still weigh in. There's nothing that's been done that's changing any current constitutional laws like Prop 13 or anything else, but they are opportunities to make adjustments to things that some people think are important. But we have, just to clarify, we have as a city have not taken a position on any specific ballot measures, and this vote would not do that, right?
Thank you, Councilmember, for your question. Again, Zane Barnes, Chief Intergovernmental Relations Officer. We will bring ballot measures back to council in advance of the election, and we plan to bring the MHSA measure back in January. And then as the others become qualified for the November 2024 ballot, we will bring those back as well.
Right. So again, this report is a report to talk about the important work that your office has done advocating for those measures to be passed and put on the ballot, but not supporting them in their current form as ballot measures. That's a discussion we will have in the future. And I do want to thank you for your support of ACA 1 and ACA 13, which I think are very important measures to give cities more control over their financial futures and allow cities to be able to continue to raise the funds they need as they determine they need to provide services to their residents. So I want to thank you for that advocacy, and now look forward to the conversation that we will have in the future, knowing that there will be disagreement as well on those, but about whether or not we as a council endorse them. So thank you for that. And I will be heading off tomorrow to the League of Cities annual board meeting and League Leaders Summit, where we will be coming up on Thursday with the annual work plan for the League of Cities. So I look forward to bringing our city's priorities there and try to push for some things that maybe the other cities are not thinking about. Us as a big city, we're often on a little bit different opinion than some of the other cities, but I will make sure that our priorities are heard on Thursday when we have that priority discussion at the meeting. So I would like to make a substitute motion. I want to appreciate all of your work and make a substitute motion to accept your staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a substitute motion on the floor now from Councilmember Cohen, second by Jimenez, and we are on to Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank our amazing IGR team, especially Sarah and Zane, but everybody, of course, for your terrific advocacy this year. And congratulations for passing real legislation that will offer a key lifeline to our residents here in the city of San Jose. I'm particularly focused on what we can do to address the eviction crisis, given I'm a renter, and I'm sure we've all seen by now that Santa Clara County is the hardest hit county in the state, with evictions occurring at 35% higher than that of 2019. I am encouraged, however, to see some wins that will help our working families stay in their homes, such as SB 567, which strengthens eviction protections and allows the city to help enforce our existing rent ordinance. And of course, AB 12, which limits safety deposits to 1 month's rent for units held by large landlords. I said this earlier in the meeting, but I myself was forced to find a new apartment, and a majority of the down payments for an apartment were around $7,000. This was early on in my council, career, so I didn't have $7,000 just in my bank account, and I can't really see working people who work in the service industry having just $7,000 in their bank account. So this is truly a win for our families throughout the city of San Jose, well, throughout the state, actually. I was disappointed that the governor had vetoed AB 875, which would have aided the city's efforts to prevent evictions through increased case filing data. I strongly believe it is the duty of every level of government to address this emergency to its full potential. And I salute our IGR team for being on the front lines of the fight to make that happen. I do have just 2 questions looking into the 2024 sessions. Is there any federal or state legislation the IGR team is focused on for the next year as it relates to eviction prevention and other tenant protections?
Steve, do you have anything you want to add on this one?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Councilmember. I would expect Assemblymember Gabriel to return with his legislation, is our understanding, and perhaps make some modifications based.
For the record, which
this
legislation?
Is 875.
Okay.
Yeah, with some modifications, to address some of the comments in the governor's veto message. But at this point, sort of early in the stage, many of the proposals have not really been aired yet. So, we'll have to come back to you over the next few months and report to you on what those
look forward
proposals
to
might
the
look
conversation.
like. Yeah.
I know another issue we've seen, and I know we've used American Rescue Plan money for this to fund essentially the city's eviction diversion work. Is there any possibility for a member of the legislature to support a bill that could provide more funding to the cities to do this essential work?
Thank you, Councilmember. We were lucky this last session to have Assemblymember Kalra champion the eviction diversion program in a state earmark. And while there was a substantial budget deficit, we were really lucky to go ahead and get an eviction diversion earmark. We're going to look for continued opportunities to fund the eviction diversion program. We recognize how important it is. And happy to work with your office to find additional opportunities to advocate for this.
Oh, great. Appreciate your work. I'll have more questions for 3.4, but thank you for all you've done, and I support Councilmember Cohen and Sergio's Jimenez's memo. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. We're on to Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the report, both on the state and federal issues, all that are important to us, the ones that are passed. I'm particularly excited about AB 645 as Vision Zero Chair. How many times have I told you how important this one is to me? And I'm really excited to see that it passed and that the governor signed it into law. I get asked every day, when will this be implemented? So what's standing in our way from implementation from a legislative side, or is there anything at this point?
Thank you very much for your question, Councilmember. We have passed the legislation. It will go into effect on January 1st, 2024, but I will let someone from our Department of Transportation talk about implementation.
Thank you. It's really, John, as you come down here, it's really exciting to have something that will be so impactful on making our streets safer that we work so hard over so many years to get through. So I'm excited to have it come to fruition.
Thank you, Councilmember John Russo, Director of Transportation. And yeah, we're really pleased that we finally got this through after about 4 years, and a lot of great help along this council and in Sacramento too. So we'll stop. Nothing is stopping us except just trying to get this thing selected, the locations, procure. This will be done by a vendor. We'll be procuring those services to set up the cameras and the ticket and the citation software and technical capabilities that we're going to have to procure. We're going to be doing this together with the other cities that actually are in this legislation. See if we can actually do this together as much as possible to have some consistency, and possibly to do some procurements together. So right now, we're just in the middle of trying to figure out the implementation phase of this and what it's going to take to procure those services from a vendor to put this in place.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the benefit of working with the partner cities, but I also hear in the back of my head bureaucracy slowing it down. So what can will this be coming, how quickly will this be coming to us as a request for proposal?
Well, I don't think that we're gonna be adding bureaucracy by this. We're gonna try to actually streamline and potentially make this a little bit better for all the cities that are in part of this. So we don't know that we're all gonna be together, but we're collectively working on it through that organization, Cacti, to help us really get through this. So when is it going to come? We've got to get through some coordination and selection of locations based on what's allowing us to do it in the legislation. We've got 33 locations that we can do. Bigger cities get more. Probably the biggest thing is going to be the procuring of that vendor, making sure that we're going to pick the right one for that. And so that's probably going to be a thing. When are we going to be here? It's going to be a number of months, probably in the fall, before we're going to come back to you with, selections of where the locations are and what that vendor might look like. So, but it's still a ways away. Hopefully, we'll have this sometime late next year. We'll be able to put it in place.
So, you're thinking that the cameras will be up and operating by the end of 2024?
I hope so. Yeah, I really think we can do it by then.
Okay, I would encourage you to move as quickly and
Like
prudently as possible, obviously, but we're going to save lives by this, and the sooner we get these cameras out there, the sooner we will begin saving lives, which is really critical. But thank you for that, and thank you for your work on AB 645 and all the other pieces of legislation.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's all I had.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate you highlighting AB 645. That was also one of the bills I was most excited to advocate for, and I would just echo the council members' urgency around that issue. Hope we can implement those next year. We're on to Councilmember Condellis.
Thank you, Mayor. I too wanted to share thanks to the diligent work of our IGR office, not just in the millions of dollars that you bring into the city, but it's also the protection of our ability to make decisions here locally and potential threats and legislation that not only could hinder our decision-making authority, but funding. And that's huge, and we cannot function without the critical role of your office that you're bringing the funding in here for diligently. And so, I've heard from dozens of residents, and they've reaffirmed the city's commitment to public safety and things like automated speed enforcement, the automated license plate readers, and things to bolster our thinly staffed police department to make our community feel safer. So when we talk about funding for the retail theft prevention and state dollars that bolsters our local dollars to make a difference in our community, I think that's where we have that magnification effect. And I think that's huge, and that can't be understated. I'm excited to work with our department, with our police department, with our city manager's office to deploy those things like locations, so we can stop sideshows, so we can stop certain things that that hinder our ability to create that safe community. But I do want to quickly pivot on the advocacy for equitable funding for the infrastructure of our city, one of our guiding principles that we're looking to adopt today, especially in places like Lake Cunningham. That's obviously huge. Part of the $390 million that we received and we quantified in the report, part of that money was for Lake Cunningham. And so huge kudos on that. And I was excited to work with IGR on that earmark with our congressman, with our congressman's office to submit more dollars for Lake Cunningham because we know that it's a shared responsibility for us to work closely with our federal and state partners on that park because of the historical disinvestment that we've had in this park. Not just because it's an open space, it's an opportunity for folks to gather, it's an opportunity to build stronger neighborhoods, but it also creates equitable access to our community to be able to gather. So I'm excited to see where that goes, and I'm excited to see this as one of the guiding principles going into the next year, and look forward to partnering with the office as we engage policymakers, whether it's in Sacramento or DC, on opportunities for projects like Lake Cunningham. So I too am supportive of my colleagues' motion, and thank you once again for the work that you're doing, helping move our city forward with the limited dollars, and everybody grabbing towards the pot. The $390 million is pretty significant. So kudos.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Batra.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to also thank the IGR team because of their extensive amount of work trying to track all the legislation in the state, in the federal, and weeding it out to be what is relevant to our city. And then advocating for the legislation which really is helpful, like the AB 645, which I supported right from the day when I came on the dais. But looking at the discussion which has happened in the last few minutes, taking one of those bills, like AB 645, one council member talked about its implementation. Another one talked about the eviction. Another one talked about the Cunningham Lake solution. This is the amount of work which you have put into it, and the council members need to understand what you have done, what you brought in. It deserves a 4 hours kind of a study session where you can really educate the council members what you have already successfully done, what you're about to do, what are the proposals on there. And I do not believe that we are doing a full justice to the work which you have done to absorb it and giving you the proper amount of guidance, if you want to call it, from the council, what you should be pursuing. And I'm totally amazed that the council member, Cohen, would make a substitute motion to not be allowed the council members to get more educated, have more interaction with their constituents, to be able to bring the output. You heard already some public comments about ACA 1, ACA 13. The more dialogue needs to happen so that you can represent the city more appropriately, which is consistent with our constituents. So I request that in future, this work should always be preceded by a study session. It should also allow us more time on certain elements. You need to separate the report into different categories, like some which are signed into law by the governor, vetoed by the governor, 2-year bills which you need to highlight, and the bills that have died in one way or another. So those kind of things, when you present to us in a study session, we'll be able to absorb them better and would be able to provide a better input. And I think when we are always willing to give our constituents more opportunity to provide their input and understand what the council members are doing, and ourselves, we study, take the study sessions when appropriate. I'm totally amazed that we have a substitute motion on the table asking for a study session not be held and these items be pulled off. So I would not be able to support this substitute motion just because of that reason, that we need more education, we need more interaction with our constituents, especially on the items which are going to have a long-term effect. The things like ACA 1, ACA 13 are going to change the method. It's a constitutional amendment coming on. We need to educate everybody. I cannot support the idea of trying to shortchange us with no education, no background on it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate the feedback. I'm sure staff is reflecting on it. I do want to just note for all of my colleagues, just a couple of reminders. One is I know that the administration sends out the Horizon report on a weekly basis. That is a multi-month look ahead, so we know when major items, major reports that are very lengthy and detailed are coming months in advance. I know Sarah and the IGR team offered individual briefings for council members. I believe a majority of the council took advantage of those. I also would just note that we do IGR work year-round, and we do have these reports periodically, but at any time, I know Sarah and her team are very willing to sit down and go into detail on the body of work that the team is engaged with. I'd also note, just for everyone's benefit, that a number of these bills that are being highlighted in the forward-looking legislative program will change in the next session. And so I think this is a status report where we're understanding what we're tracking, what has a potentially material impact on the city's interests, where there's either an opportunity or a risk to the city. And so we're tracking these, advocating for the city's interest. And these very well may get dropped or modified next year, and we'll be coming back to talk about them again. So appreciate the points about needing to research on the level of complexity here, but I do just want to note that staff tries very hard to create those opportunities and want to make sure people are taking advantage of them. Okay, we continue to have a number of hands. We're going to continue on here. Councilor Torres, the mic is yours.
Great, thank you. And we're having some pretty lively discussion, which is always good for our democracy, right? So I just want to thank the IGR team. I think it's a very important work that you all are doing. And it's actually one of my favorite meetings, as my staff has told you, when we do have these meetings. Because, we all play a part in creating healthy, safe, livable neighborhoods for everyone, right? And so that's why it's important to me. And focusing on tenant protections should be a priority for our city, and I thank you for you all doing that. Focusing on building affordable housing should be a priority for our city as well. Focusing on Vision Zero and other pedestrian safety measures should be a priority in our city. And lastly, focusing on protecting our youth, especially our kids, from guns should be a priority in our city, and this report does that. So I'm with Councilmember Cohen and seconder Councilmember Jimenez on supporting this report. I think it's really important that we let our community know that sometimes we can't do the work, but other government agencies can do the work, and that we all can, again, create safe, livable neighborhoods for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Torres. Appreciate your comments and your efficiency. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yeah, thank you. Just had a few questions. One of the assembly bills, AB 12, which was on the list that I think Councilmember Dewan wanted to punt and kick out to a future date. I mean, that's already signed, but in my mind, that was very important. That reduces the required amount for deposits, and I was trying to make sense if Councilmember Ortiz mentioned it or not. I think you might have. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, wow, if you charge, I mean, I estimated $3,000 rent. You charge 2 months at $6,000. That's like $9,000 just to move in. And so I think this is a very big deal. I really do think that it removes one of the key barriers for folks getting into housing, which I think is very important. And so one of the questions I had, and I suspect I see Rachel here, someone from housing here, but I'll ask the question, whoever wants to answer it. But I'm curious about, so now that the bill's signed, I think it takes into effect July of next year. I'm curious what outreach we're doing, working with the apartment association, other folks, to really get the word out, so that way the apartment owners understand and know that this is in effect. And I'm curious if someone can speak to that. And we may not have the answers yet, I realize that, but if that's the answer, that's okay too.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember. Rachel, I don't know if you have anything to add, but we've been excited about this bill coming forward and supported it early on, and think that it has some consequential impact, but want to pass to Rachel if she has anything to add.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel Vanderveen, Assistant Director of the Housing Department. We have a newly formed housing provider roundtable where we're meeting with housing providers every month, and so we have a meeting coming up next week. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to share this information and have a discussion, and also brainstorm with them as well on how can we get the word out. So we appreciate the idea, and we have the forum ready to go to communicate.
Okay, very good. And then also, maybe you can speak to this, Rachel, or someone else, but can someone talk about what the threshold is to, because I think there's an exception to the smaller landlords, and I'm curious what that is. Is that like over 5, I'm just making this up, right, over 5 units or something? I mean, does anyone know the details?
Thank you, Councilmember. The exception to this rule is if the landlord owns 2 residential properties with 4 units combined, then they can only ask for 2 months rent.
So 2 residential properties with 4 units combined. Okay, I'm gonna wrap my head around sort of the mechanics of that, or the impact of that, but okay, all right, very good. All right, thank you so much. Actually, sorry, I'm lying. One other thing that came to mind for me is that this is good that we're reducing the amount of deposit, but what I'm curious about, and this is a question that I don't know if the answer exists or if we've thought about this, but I often wonder what prevents landlords, and maybe even these larger apartment complexes, from charging one deposit to you, another deposit to you, meaning a different deposit. So for example, they can go up to 2 months of rent, but they don't have to. And so what I'm curious, is there any legislation that exists that prevents them from, me as an immigrant to this country, charging me 2 times the rent, and then charging someone that isn't an immigrant 1 time, the rent? Or is there anything out there that prevents anything like that from happening?
All right, so I would just say, so I think what you're asking is like if tenant 1 is charged a certain amount, tenant 2 is charged something else, tenant 3.
Right.
It's
right.
There's variation.
Correct.
I'm not aware of law that requires that it be consistent. There are, this is a law that tells you how high it can be.
Correct.
But if I decided to have, this guy over here pay $200 as a deposit as the property owner, it is my understanding I can make that choice.
Right. And what I'm getting at is I'm thinking about some of these protected classes like familial status, for example. So if I have a son and we're in an apartment, am I going to be charged more in a deposit than a single person, right? And so we may not have the answer, and I know there's credit worthiness that's looked into and all that, and maybe that plays into it, but I would just put out there to the world, for you all, that if there's anything like that that can frame that up a little cleaner, I think, that provides that framework where it's predictable, if you will, I think that would be helpful, and I'm not sure if anything exists.
I appreciate that input, and we can work with this team to think about what that can look like on a legislative basis.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. The other question I had is related to some of the, thank you, Rachel, some of the federal sort of efforts, and I know in my district it's really, I think, the heart of the city, right? And it's Monterey Road really goes from one end of the, middle of the city to the other end, southern end of the city. And I know the UP line runs down Monterey Road. It really cuts my district in half. And we've been talking about high-speed rail for many, many years. I don't know what the current status is. I haven't been following it too closely. But I know along Monterey Road, there's a lot of at-grade crossings. And there's been, at least in my office, and I know the former mayor, we were actively talking about grade separations for those spaces on Skyway, on Branham, on Chenoweth Avenues. And I'm curious if there are any opportunities, or if it's on our radar, to be looking out for some federal money or any other pots of money that can help build, because I think we got money, John, to get that design work done, but I'm not sure. I know it's super expensive to build the grade separations, and I'm wondering if anyone from DOT or anyone here from the Ledge team can speak to maybe opportunities, or I would say I'd love to hear that it's on your radar to the extent, and if it isn't, it probably should be, but.
Thank you, Councilmember. Grade separation is definitely on our radar. We've received grants for it before. Maybe Jess can speak a little bit about additional opportunities, but we also have our federal lobbyist on who can talk about some of the other opportunities available on the federal side.
Great. Good morning. Jessica Zank, Deputy Director for the Department of Transportation. Councilmember Jimenez, you remember correctly that we got funding through the CRISI grant, which is now part of the IIJA program. It was greatly expanded through the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act. We got CRISI funding to begin the environmental design process. We're working with FRA to advance that scope and get underway with that. We also did work into the Memorandum of Understanding with the High-Speed Rail Authority, how we would layer the funding that they had for pedestrian and bike crossings into those more full grade separations. As Zane said, we're always looking for opportunities to line up the construction funding as well. But the first step is really getting through the environmental review process. I don't know if Leslie has anything to add.
Right. Okay. And I assume that would frame up the ask, if you will, to say we've already got the clearance, we're ready to go. And I think I interrupted her. She was going to speak. So please.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to add, Jess, I think you captured it perfectly. I think CRISI is a fantastic program. There is also, on a related note, the Railroad Crossing Elimination Program that was created through IIJA, and there will be another round of funding. Actually, they'll be releasing the Notice of Funding Opportunity in December. So that's another program that we may want to take a look at as well that may be helpful.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just want to make sure it stays on your radar. I'm certainly going to be gone before those discussions happen, I'm sure, but I think it's important for that community. I remember estimates related to the quad gates that would come down with increased service for the electrified Caltrain line, in addition to high-speed rail. I think those gates would be down about 30 minutes each hour. Quite frankly, dividing a community in a very substantial way, and so I think that's going to be very important as we move forward to continue to sort of explore options to fund that. With that, I would, so no more questions, but I'll just make some comments. I think I understand there is a lot in here. I think when we had the briefing, I said the same thing. There's just so much in here. It's impossible to know the ins and outs of every piece of this legislation, but that's why we have you all. It's also impossible to go to every one of our constituents and say, hey, what do you think, up or down? What should I do? I mean, we're elected up here to make these decisions, and so I think, some of the callers that called into the meeting chiming in that they're not being heard. They have every opportunity to reach out to my office. I haven't declined any meetings with anyone as it relates to their concerns specific to any of these legislations. So there's been ample opportunity in my mind to come in, to comment. I think this might be the first time I've heard people, maybe very few times, if any, but this stands out as one of the first times that I've heard people actually commenting about some of the stuff that's in the LEDGE program. And so I'd like them to be a little bit more present if they really are concerned about some of the things that we're uplifting. With regard to a study session, I think a study session is important, and I'm open to having one in the future on this, but I think it's important to move forward with this. It was a little strange to me in seeing some of the bills listed on here. They're already signed, and they're already moving forward, and so I wasn't quite sure how they were selected, and I think some of them are related to gun harm reduction and other things that I think are very important to us, and I think most of our constituents are calling for that we need to do something about. And so I was very comfortable moving or seconding the substitute motion, and just wanted to share that we're all interested in helping you further the work of the city, of the residents, and I think the program that we have and the legislative sort of guiding principles, we have an opportunity to chime in as to whether we agree with those or not, and that's okay. But it's evident to me that the majority of the council thinks that this is the right way to go, and so that's why I'm supporting it. But thank you for all your work.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Jimenez. I see we've been joined by a number of students from Presentation High School. Welcome. We are on to Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you so much. And I too would like to thank the team for all that you do, and being able to obtain so much support for the city of San Jose, whether it's grants or support in other areas. I think that's really terrific. I also appreciate that at any point in time, if there are questions, you readily come out and have sessions with us individually. So I just want to thank you so much for all your work. Sometimes the sausage, when it's being made, is not very pretty, and things happen very, very quickly at all hours of the night. So I do appreciate all of those other things that are those duties as necessary that come up. So I do appreciate that. I also wanted to ask, and I know that timing is always an issue, and being ready for things that come up. Because our housing element is sort of in the stage that it is, and we're going to submit, and HCD can take up to 60 days, not that they will, but we always have that. I just was wondering if there are one of the things that had come up was whether or not some of the grants, were in jeopardy. I don't know if we need to make it a legislative priorities in terms of when that comes up, but I was just curious if that was in the realm of being looked at.
Sorry. Thanks for the question, Vice Mayor. We have been looking at and been working with Jess on a number of the opportunities that may be in question as a result of the housing element, and I'll just let Jess weigh in.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of our regional funding has been slated to having certified housing elements.
Right.
Actually, you'll hear an item later today about that, so maybe we'll take this question now and not later. And so we are working with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, who has connected those dots, trying to urge people to be good actors when it comes to housing. They're well aware of the backlog at HCD,
Okay.
and so we are working with them to move forward a grace period that we hope moves through in December at the MTC.
Yeah, that's good to know, because it's sort of like which happens first, right? And I just wanted to make sure that that was sort of on our radar, because it's quite significant, and certainly a lot of work has already been put into that, and it's just a matter of timing. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, in terms of something for the council to think about, I know that we have different views on, different areas of priorities that has been brought up. And I think that the process, because you come to us, maybe several times during the year, 3 times a year, has worked for the previous council and previous mayor. So, as you move forward, one of the things I want us to think about as a council is, is this process still relevant to what we feel we want to, move forward with? I know that, in my previous experience, we had a ledge committee, right? It could be cumbersome, another layer, but both Councilmember Ortiz and I served on the ledge committee when we were at the County Office of Education. So there are different models, and so as we move forward, I would ask that we think about what works best as a full council in terms of our priorities, whether they're state priorities, federal priorities, whatever it is. Because I think that, this is our first year of really participating. Because by the time we got here in January, some of us, it was already done, right? So the report is what has been worked on in the past, but there may be other things in the future. And as we move forward, I would like for us to consider, hey, what works best, right? And so I just put that out there. I will be supporting the motion. I welcome study sessions, but I also know that the IGR team anytime has been very, very good about, giving you, background or whatever it is that you need on anything. So I appreciate that very much. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Vice Mayor. Appreciate those comments. I think we should always be open to iterating on our process and figuring out what works for the council. I also know from experience that it can take a couple of cycles through to really get grounded in some of these larger and more complex bodies of work. And as Councilmember Jimenez said, we can't all be experts in everything, and so we kind of have to pick and choose where we're going to focus. Speaking of which, and I see we have some hands for a second round of comments, I'm going to go ahead and interject a few of my questions first. But on that point about focus, I do want to thank you, IGR team, for this year's legislative priorities being more focused and strategic, in my opinion. And to some of the points that have been made, they're an amalgamation of all of the council's priorities, of past council's priorities, of risks that we may not want to take on but have to be aware of and think about, opportunities, and really the community. So they're not a reflection of any one person or moment in time, but have kind of built up and evolved over time based on where the greatest risks and opportunities are for the city. But I appreciate this message feels more focused to me than at least since I've been paying attention in recent years. So I want to quickly run through a few questions. I just want to highlight a few key topics for the year ahead for my knowledge and the benefit of my colleagues. The first is around interim housing. Like other big city mayors, I've been very vocal in advocating for greater funding for immediate solutions to homelessness. And it seems like there's finally a real recognition in Sacramento that that's an important part of the overall mix of solutions that we need. And I just want to ask, maybe particularly our lobbying teams in Sacramento, if Steve, if you're seeing if you're seeing what I feel like I'm hearing in Sacramento, and what legislative priorities there may be to get greater funding and streamlined approvals for interim housing and other more immediate solutions to homelessness.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, it continues to be, a priority for the governor and the legislature. I would say, one of the more meaningful policy bills is the Becker legislation, which you're aware of, SB 634, to streamline interim housing. And so I think that's probably one of the more significant pieces of legislation that are focused primarily on that emergency shelter. In terms of funding, I mean, there's been the ongoing funding sources that through HAP, for example, I suspect there'll be and you may know more directly, another request by the big city mayors to prioritize and to make permanent and ongoing funding available for those types of programs. And so I think those have been sort of the primary areas in terms of the funding for interim housing. And I expect it to be a priority again for the budget when he unveils his proposal in January.
Okay, great, thanks, that's helpful. And you're right, big city mayors did make HAP funding our #1 priority for the coming year, so that definitely aligns. And I'll be paying close attention to 634 again. On next topic, fentanyl, we've recently had some unthinkable tragedies of children dying from exposure to fentanyl. And I think we need more support from state and federal partners to combat this epidemic of fentanyl in our community. And I guess I'm curious to hear both in Sacramento and Washington what legislative opportunities there may be for us to advocate to get greater resources for whether from drug treatment to law enforcement. And I'll throw that out to whoever feels best prepared to respond.
Yeah, well, I would probably start from a policy standpoint. There obviously has been heightened awareness to fentanyl and the deaths, as you mentioned, most recently in San Jose. And so there's been a number of efforts in Sacramento that have stalled. There was one bill that did make it through the process last year, AB 701, that was a penalty enhancement bill, and it was for drug dealers, but at a larger quantity. There's efforts to try to reduce that, and a second bill that didn't make it through the process. And so we expect those bills to come back, a second bill on liability for manufacturers, And there's been a change in the Assembly leadership. They've appointed a new chair of the Public Safety Committee where many of those bills have stalled, and there's some belief based upon comments from the Speaker that there is leadership behind measures to address the issues that you raised. From a funding side, I haven't seen a lot yet in terms of funding to combat it. I don't know if Leslie on the federal side has anything that's come through yet, but it may be something that, at least to raise the flag on the funding side. Most of it has been conversations around policy.
Mayor, on the federal side, there have been, a piece of fentanyl legislation and a group of fentanyl bills that we have supported with your office. But happy to ask Leslie if there's any other additional opportunities on the federal side.
Yeah, no, thanks, Zane, and thanks, Mayor, for the question. I mean, I think, you're seeing President Biden obviously focusing a lot of attention on this issue because it's certainly, not just a San Jose issue. You're seeing this as an epidemic across the country. And so he's done a number of executive orders around stopping the fentanyl supply chain. You saw this come up in his recent talks with President Xi Jinping when they met in San Francisco. As part of his recent budget supplemental request, he requested $1.2 billion additional dollars to, prevent fentanyl from coming over the border. I think legislatively, because of the funding battles that are happening here with the House, I think it's hard to find additional resources. But I really do think that this is an area that we should focus on for next session and beyond, because I think this is an issue that could get bipartisan support. It certainly is not a red or blue state issue. And so I think you're seeing this across all communities. So I think there's a growing awareness. Typical Washington, I think we're always fighting, last year's battle. But I think this is going to be an area that I think could use a lot of attention and advocacy.
Yeah, agreed. I was going to make that point about the bipartisan relevance. So glad that you feel that way and appreciate the responses on that. I want to talk for just a moment about AI. I think it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve the delivery of government services, as well as specifically for San Jose, an opportunity to create billions, if not tens of billions of dollars in economic growth and opportunity. I'm very proud of the fact that the San Jose Metro has more than twice as many patents in AI and machine learning over the last year as any other metro. That includes San Francisco and Oakland, which I think came in third after New York. So we are still the world center of innovation, and I think we have an important role to play in certainly leading in procurement and privacy and the defensive piece of this and making sure that we protect folks. But I also think we're uniquely positioned to make the case for why innovation is so important. And I'm wondering what you think we can do to help our representatives in Sacramento and Washington understand there's immense opportunity and that there's a risk of prematurely over-regulating this space and really pushing it out of our national borders into other countries, which would be especially impactful on our local economy here.
Thank you, Mayor. I think, to be honest, our leadership role is already being cemented as we speak. I mean, I think that with the executive order issued by the governor, San Jose was called out specifically, and I think that's an important development. I think that when we were in Sacramento, there was a lot of conversation about the regulation of AI and what that means for the state, and we're continuing to actively monitor those pieces of legislation. There's nothing out yet, but we expect there to be AI legislation coming. I know that there's been an effort to address this nationally as well, and so maybe I'll just ask Leslie to talk a little bit about some of the AI legislation that was on the federal side.
Thanks, Zane. So this has been a real top priority for Leader Schumer in the Senate, and you're seeing he's been doing a number of convenings on a wide spectrum of issues. One thing that's really interesting is that while there has been legislation introduced, I think, whether it's from our own Congresswoman Lofgren to actually Leader Schumer to, several other folks in leadership in Congress in both the House and Senate, there's a reluctance to actually move on regulation. I really think people are trying to understand this issue. It's obviously changing rapidly. And so, Mayor, to your point, I think our ability to share what we're seeing on the ground and the promise of AI, because I do think that piece, while acknowledged, I think sometimes people don't always see that on the ground. And there's obviously a lot of concern about the risks, and that's the piece that people are hearing about. But to the degree that we're able to highlight how AI is impacting San Jose positively, I think that's a story that needs to be told, not just to our delegation, but actually to the national leaders that are really focused on this.
Yeah, that's helpful. And I was going to suggest that I think the next time we're planning an advocacy trip in Sacramento and or Washington, I know there are colleagues here as well as partners like San Jose State, certainly private sector partners who would be interested in joining for some proactive dialogue with lawmakers, I think, in both Sacramento and Washington. I think it's really critical that we protect our innovation economy, certainly responsibly, but it's a unique opportunity and or threat for our city, frankly. So just want to highlight that I think there's a lot of good work we can do there together. Okay, and then just quickly, last two items. Obviously, federal government seems to be on the verge of a shutdown every time I read the paper. Do we have a sense of whether or not we're going to have a budget in 2024, and what, if anything, can we do to mitigate negative impacts to our city and residents if they can't get to an agreement in Congress?
Yeah, so as you know, there were two continuing resolutions that were essentially adopted with two different deadlines, one for January 19th and one for February 2nd. And I think, there's an acknowledgement that, the runway may have run out at this point, and decisions need to get made. And so these next two deadlines, I think, are especially important. And it is entirely possible, that we will get to the brink of a shutdown again. I would say, likely that at least we'll hear a lot of conversation about that leading up. I mean, I think we have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I think if they're not able to reach an agreement, what you'll see is a year-long continuing resolution that may necessitate, as part of the debt ceiling deal, they may end up with a 1% across the board cut. And so I think, we're going to need to have hard conversations about prioritizing because, I expect to see less funding coming from the federal level this year. So not a great answer, and still a lot of uncertainty, unfortunately.
Okay, well, in the interest of time, we can take it offline, but I think I'd like to also ask city staff a little more about what we need to do to prepare on our end. I think with what may be one of the most contentious elections in U.S. history, there's a real risk next year around the budget. Finally, I just wanted to touch on housing. I think the public sector has stepped up in a major way, and there's an opportunity with the regional housing bond to do even more of that. And I see Flaherty Ward here of the Housing Authority, who I know has an item coming up soon. So there's a lot going on in the public sector to promote housing production. And yet, I think we've seen with high cost of construction, which we talked about recently, less and less investment from the private marketplace in housing, at least in the Bay Area. And I think really that's fair to say across the state. I'm curious to what extent the mood in Sacramento is shifting in favor of simplifying building codes, streamlining environmental review, finding ways to incentivize greater private sector investment. I don't think we can do it alone with public sector dollars. Those should be really targeted to our most vulnerable residents and have the greatest impact possible, which means we need a healthy overall housing production market, and we just haven't had that. We have to hope interest rates will eventually come down, but in the meantime, based on what we can control, to what extent is Sacramento willing to have another look at some of the regulations that are in place?
Yeah, I mean, over the course of the last, 5 years or so, there's been a number of bills and a focus to try to streamline the process. And I think you said it, I think a big part of the equation is certainty, right, for developers in the process. And so we've seen expansion in different terms of streamlining. And CEQA, there was started off as CEQA for arenas, and then slowly but surely started to add affordable housing projects and infill projects. So we've seen expansion in those areas. I think the other, in terms of other ways in order to minimize costs, obviously there's a balance to that. And in terms of local development impact fees, and is there a way for the state to sort of help and backfill in that area? So yeah, I think we'll see more. I think on the streamlining side, I think you'll see perhaps bond measures that are more beyond affordable, but that try to figure out a way to do it at the ballot box for market rate housing as well. I think there's probably going to be another bill, some effort of redevelopment in a much more narrow way, perhaps, to focus on certain targeted communities or to address blight. And so we've seen that. There's proposals that are circulating to bring back some form of tax increment financing. So it's a big question, but there's and a lot of politics obviously involved in when those bills get introduced and by the time they get to the end of the process. But certainly high on the agenda, and those are at least a few of the ideas that I know that are probably going to come back next year.
Right, that's interesting. I appreciate that list. Look forward to learning more. Okay, great. Thank you all again for your good work and those thoughtful answers. Really appreciate all the work we've been able to do together. Also want to thank Ryan Coonerty and Mackenzie Mossian on my team, who I know work very closely with all of you on a weekly, if not daily basis. Okay, we're back around for a second round of comments and questions. We're going to go to Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just realized it's comments for both 3.3 and 3.4, so wanted to make sure I got just another question in. So as we seek to support legislation that builds a safer and healthier community, I strongly believe that part of this conversation needs to consist of bolstering open spaces. We know that funding for parks isn't equitable because it's through impact fees alone, which are only secluded to areas in which there are development, which sees concentration of a lot of those funds in areas where districts have more development than others. I wanted to see if there was any potential fix to the lack of funds for parks through state legislation.
Thank you, Councilmember. One of the big fixes available is the ballot measure ACA 1, as it would lower the voter threshold for bonds for public infrastructure and affordable housing, and included in public infrastructure are park services.
Okay. All right. So that's the only one we see right now.
Councilmember, yeah, in addition to that, we have mentioned previously, but didn't go into detail, there's a couple of climate bonds, and one of them is authored by Assemblymember Eddie Garcia, and part of his focus is on parks and open space. And so I expect that there'll be some form of that, and be happy to follow up with your office. And one of the things that we're doing is with our departments looking at those bonds, they'll be in the 10 to $12 billion range. They're $15 billion now, but trying to ensure that they're written in a way that reflect the priorities and projects for the city. And so we can certainly follow up on that, but that is another opportunity for funding.
That's great. I truly believe that we need to have these funds dispersed in an equitable manner, so any way we can do so through legislation I think would go a far way. And also I just want to thank the mayor for reinforcing the need for us to take on briefings from the department. I appreciate all the briefings you've given myself and my staff. I think it's our job as council members to show up to these meetings prepared and having done the homework. Thank you.
Thanks, Council Member. We are back to Council Member Cohen.
Yeah, sorry, I guess when I put on my mic, my name disappears from the list.
Yeah, it did. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the thoughts about how we decide collectively on our priorities. I just want to point out that there's a difference between our council priorities and what we support as a council policy-wise and positions on specific bills. And I think it's important because I know there's been some questions about we have to have a study session to understand all these bills. Bills come and go over a short time frame. They're very temporal. They get submitted in the spring. They're done by the summer. We're not going to have a study session on each one of them as they get submitted, as they get changed, as they get gutted and amended. That's why we have you. That's why we have your team. We set the priorities. You know what those priorities are. And let me just ask you for clarification. How do you determine when you're supporting a bill whether you believe it's the council's will that you support that bill?
Thank you, Councilmember. In order to support legislation or take a position on legislation, we draw on our legislative program. That is the City Council approved legislative program.
Right, so we do have a legislative program that we talk about extensively, but we're not ever going to sit down and say, hey, is SB 47 something that we support? Because SB 47 gets submitted in March, it gets amended, it gets voted on, and you're following it, and you're trying to make changes to it that will best reflect the priorities we have as a city. And again, as I said at the beginning, we have the luxury of having a team like you that is specifically advocating for San Jose's legislative priorities, as opposed to more general lobbyists who are legislating, who are basically advocating for what they think cities want across the state. So I just want to make sure it's understood that, that there's a little difference here between taking a list of bills and discussing them individually versus taking policy positions, which we should do. Periodically, though, we as a council have submitted rules memos asking council to take a position on a bill that may not already be part of the legislative priority. I did it a couple years ago on a specific bill. I know that other colleagues have done that before on healthcare bills and other bills when they come up that we would like to push you also to advocate for. So everybody's free to always submit those memos if there's specific legislation they want to support or that they want to oppose. We should certainly remind people of that process. So I want to thank you for being there to sort of watch what's happening in Sacramento and DC on our behalf based on our legislative priorities. I do want to just talk a little bit about the so-called Taxpayer Protection Act, and we had this discussion earlier this year. You know, it's very interesting to me as a board member at Cal Cities, which is typically seen as a very, very conservative, careful body that takes positions on things that I think often are not necessarily what we as a city of San Jose might support, but I have never in my 3 years seen such unanimity from cities across the state about how dangerous that bill is. And I'm just going to read again some statements from their statements on that bill. And you know, sitting in that room with those folks and hearing what they say and how scared they are from cities across the state, including cities like Redondo Beach and Palm Springs and places that are not what we think of as San Jose. And the fact that they can put out statements like this about a ballot measure tells me that we are on the right track in making sure that we do all we can. And ACA 13 was a reaction legislatively to figuring out how to make sure that this does not destroy cities and government agencies across the state. It happened very quickly. We weren't going to have a long discussion as a council, but we all understood as a collectively, along with your office, on how dangerous this bill was. The letter from Cal Cities says that the proposed measure is already destabilizing government finance. Substantial questions as to the lawfulness and meaning of the proposed measure arise that, if left unresolved, will exacerbate these uncertainties and necessarily reduce government efficiency for months and years after that election. The mayors of some of California's biggest cities also filed a separate letter arguing that it poses an immediate threat to vital state and local services. So I just want to be clear that this is not some philosophical question about Prop 13. This is something that is a real immediate threat to what we do every day here to serve the residents of our city and what people around the state do every day to serve the residents of the state. And I just felt it was important to put that in there. We had this conversation extensively back in the spring, and I think we're on the right track in making sure that we continue to stand up against something as harmful as that legislation, as that ballot measure. Now I have a question for you on a different topic, quickly. I saw you mention the builder's remedy fix. I know some people have seen possibly my concerns about what I believe is an abuse of the builder's remedy and that goes counter to what the legislature's real purpose behind that process was supposed to be, as far as the housing element and allowing housing where housing otherwise wasn't going to be allowed. So just can you talk to me briefly about what kind of advocacy you think the city's going to do and what kind of likelihood of success we might have in trying to close that loophole and actually stopping some of these dangerous projects that are being proposed?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Councilmember. Before I talked about builder's remedy, I just want to sort of provide a caveat on that earlier part, is that if there are things that are controversial, that are even, we could find support here in our legislative program, we do bring them back to make sure that you're all well aware of those issues. Yeah. On builder's remedy, we recognize that there was a big issue here, and we went and met with the Assembly Housing Department consultant, or the Housing Committee consultant. And we had our sort of initial conversation. One of the things that was holding that up a little bit was on the issue of the new leadership placements on the assembly side. And so those have just been resolved last week, and so we'll resume conversations this week. There is a misunderstanding, I think, in Sacramento about the issue that we're facing compared to what a lot of other cities are facing, and we messaged that very, very clearly. And so we're hopeful that we continue to work with Assemblymember Ward and the Housing Committee to find a remedy to that. But we're sort of early days here, but we recognize how important it is, and we'll continue our advocacy there.
And just to be clear, some kind of phrasing to make sure people understand that to address the issue as to whether or not down zoning is an appropriate use of what we are calling the builder's remedy. I guess that's the main thing to make sure we hammer on.
Correct, yes, and we're making that very clear.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Dewan. Also, I'm sorry, Councilmember Dewan, just before you jump in, I just want to clarify procedurally. I took the substitute motion to be specific to 3.3. We said we were going to vote on these items separately, but have presentation and discussion collectively. So what I'd like to do when we exhaust questions and comments, or the question is called on 3.3, is vote, and then I will come back to the council on item 3.4 to entertain a motion on that item. So, sorry, Councilmember Dewan, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Now, I challenge any council member, including the mayor, that you're going to be knowing all 395 recommendations. It's impossible, right? When someone telling me that they must be prepared to come up here in the council, 395 recommendations in a short period of time, I challenge that any given day, any time. Now, I just want to make it very clear, my team spent enormous amount of time and hours to go through these recommendations. And that's what I'm asking for, is more time to understand, or at least some type of briefing or study. I'm not asking to say that, oh, I totally disagreed on everything. I'm asking for information that's allow me to make an educated decision and to make a stance where I believe it is good for all constituents. And I just want to make it very clear, when someone telling me they come up here and educate in that 395 recommendation, I think that's kind of hogwash in a sense, pardon my language, but I just make it very clear that, again, I'm just asking for more information, more time, so that way I can make a clear, educated decision that will affect all of our constituents. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate the comments. Councilor Batra.
I think the comments were made that we need to be getting briefings to be understanding this. We have taken full advantage of the briefings Sarah has offered. Thank you very much. She has been available, given great briefings, which has helped us keep track of what was happening through the year, because I didn't have the benefit of the previous year's this kind of a meeting. And I was able to pick up what I wanted to support when I need to write the letters, and all of that worked very well. But we started on this topic today at 2:15, and we are at 1.5 hours. Every council member and the mayor is picking some item to ask more details, learn more about it, give more input on it. Mr. Dewan may have picked up 23 items. Maybe those are not the 23 items everybody is keen on discussing, but what is obvious is that we are interested in discussing some items in more detail than the 395 presented. And all our request was to make it that we have a study session once a year in December or somewhere. Rest of the year, those briefings give you enough information to be able to do what you need to do. Vice Mayor made the comment that we should really be reevaluating and understanding that the process works for the current council members, because 6 of us are newer than that. So I think it is not a matter of whether you agree with the 23 Mr. Dewan pulled it out or not. The idea is to reevaluate the process and maybe consider on a regular basis to have the December meeting or November meeting where you're bringing the 300-page report, organized a little differently, and a study session. And then our session here in council will not become a study session. Okay, so I would like to make a friendly amendment to the Councilmember Cohen's that we should, in addition to accepting the report, we should request or instruct that we should reevaluate the process and consider including the November-December month report with a study session so that we can come more efficiently prepared for this thing and have a council session to be like a council session and not become a study session.
I guess I'm a little confused about exactly what you're asking for in your amendment.
Let me try to clarify. I'm asking for is that we instruct that we reevaluate our process to include a study session in the November-December time when this kind of a report is coming out with the 300-page, and we are looking ahead to the next year but reevaluate the process to see if this process is currently and efficiently working for the current council, and with a view to having a study session included in that process.
Let me ask a question of staff, because you said that we as a council vote at some point, and I think it was a spring vote, on our legislative priorities, right? We actually, this is a report, but do we do remind me again what the process is for setting our legislative priorities.
So, Lee Wilcox, Assistant City Manager. What we have traditionally done as we've modernized the intergovernmental relations function is come forward to the council in and around this time frame. So post session in Sacramento for a recap so you could see what happened in the last legislative cycle, but also to put our best foot forward and have a discussion with you around what's going to happen next year. So that is kind of the first time we come forward. We traditionally come forward in the spring after a lot of legislation has moved out of the committee process as it's going into the other house for discussion. And then traditionally a second time, usually around summer, around budget, where we recap those bills, where they're at, where our positions are at, as well as give an update overall on where the budget process has landed and what revenues we have coming into the city that we have taken positions on. We've become much more active with this team and with this governor in the past of taking advantage of the budget cycle and really getting wins through that. So we felt it's important to come through in that time frame, and then again after that in the fall. So we come forward 3 times, I think, as part of us as an administration, and the vice mayor and I have been able to have conversations about this function because obviously, several of you have done this work before, which is extremely helpful. I think we're always looking at ways to improve the process that allows you guys to have a larger policy conversation on what those priorities are. And I think to Councilmember Cohen's point, it's important for us as we've modernized this, that we allow this team to be as flexible and nimble as possible. Because what used to happen in years past is when we were taking individual positions on bills and coming forward, we needed to go to Rules Committee. That was a 1.5-week process. And by the time something was being heard in Sacramento, it was too late. And I would say not this team, because this team is fairly brand new, but our relevancy in Sacramento, we didn't have a lot of relevancy in Sacramento because we couldn't weigh in at the right time. So again, if the council wishes to have that higher level policy conversation, I think we're completely open to it. I would suggest maybe not an every single year thing, but an every other year to take advantage of the 2-year legislative cycle, I think would be more appropriate. And again, that is a matching of what you guys deem as a council and where your values are, but also this team coming forward to you and presenting what are options available to you in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. that we may not want to ignore either.
Yeah, thank you for the you always explain it much better than I ever could, but thank you. I'm a little bit just concerned about how we would schedule, right now, decide what the timing should be of this process because of this multi-step process that happens throughout the year. Right now, there's no bills on the floor. I mean, we know there's a couple carryover 2-year bills that are on this list, but we don't know what next year's legislative priorities are going to be in Sacramento. So having a study session now doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We do set our legislative priorities as a city, which, you know, we all can look at and review. And what I would suggest, I think actually Councilmember, Vice Mayor Kamei made a sort of a decent sort of good suggestion. No, I mean, I don't mean to say it that way, but there was a reasonable, underneath there.
Sort of decent.
I'm reasonable.
I didn't.
Hey, watch your microaggression, would you?
No, that's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say was underneath there was a good point, which is we should reevaluate how we do this and how we set a legislative priority, and how you did it at the County Board of Education might be a model for what we could do in terms of having a committee that does this. But I would suggest, I think people who feel like there's something else we should do might want to maybe create a Brown Act group and discuss what they think the process should look like, and then bring a committee, a memo to Rules Committee to talk about adding a study session or doing some other version of this process, rather than us right now trying to artificially schedule some kind of study session. So I don't think that there's nothing perfect about the process we have. I'm just not yet convinced that that's the right approach. But I think that there's some things in there that we could evaluate and maybe discuss and bring forward to Rules, and then Rules' role is to schedule those study sessions and other things that others believe we need to have as the year goes on. So that's how I would do it, rather than accept that friendly amendment right now.
Thanks, Councilman.
So, since it was my turn to speak, so we are now at 1 hour 45 minutes in this topic, and we are debating whether a study session would be justified or not for this level of reporting and interest of the council members to see what is going to impact us. I'm not too thrilled about that we are trying to debate about the reevaluation of the process. We have said we should do that. And then we are saying, we do study session. We asked for 2 study sessions on the housing. We got those. So at the year end, when you have such a hefty report to deal with, what's the objection to having a study session? You spent 2 hours already on it. What are we trying to economize?
All right, I'm going to move us along unless Councilman Cohen would like to.
I think let's have. I'm happy to join a Brown Act group with you and talk about what I think. But I think that we're having a difference of communication about what I think the process should be. I don't think we ought to specify a study session for the end of the year right now, because I don't necessarily know that that's the right time.
Not asking for this year, though.
And I'll move the call to question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So we're going to first vote on calling the question, and then if that carries, that requires 2/3, then we will vote on the substitute motion. Yes.
Okay.
It's on our screens.
I'm not seeing anything. Did everybody vote? Okay, I'm just going to click end. So for call to question, that passes with Councilmembers Dewan and Batra voting no.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the underlying motion on 3, which is acceptance of the Fall Intergovernmental Relations Report, item 3.3.
Okay, motion passes 8-2 with Councilmember, Batra, is that a yes or no? Can you just say it out loud in the microphone?
Yes.
So you're voting yes?
Yep.
Okay, so motion passes 9 to 1 with Councilmember Dewan voting no.
Okay, thank you. And as Councilmember Cohen noted, I do think it's very valid for groups to form, to think through what additions or changes to the process might be, take that to Rules for a conversation about the process around these reports. Now we're looking at item 3.4, which has been part of the presentation discussion. This is the 2024 legislative program and legislative priorities. I'm going to go to Councilmember Torres.
Yeah, I move to approve staff report with my memo as well.
Okay, great. Don't see any other hands. Let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0.
Okay, thank you all very much. All right, we are on to item 3.5, which is the summary vacation of a portion of North San Pedro Street. There's no staff presentation, so we will go to public comment first.
Paul Soto?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'm sick and tired of Tom McHenry thinking that the city coffers are his personal piggy bank in order to increase his the viability and the property values of what his family owns in San Pedro Square. Now, this city spent $6 million building up that disgusting display of history of the Thomas Fallon House. Then all of the work that Arturo Villarreal had to do in order to rightly name the Jose Manuel Gonzalez House, but yet it still has a Peralta House. Now he profits from that space because it's under Parks and Recreation, and he built a restaurant around it. So he profits from the maintenance of that space by using city dollars from Parks and Recreation in order to enhance his restaurant profits. I'm sick of this white supremacist, racist mayor continually using people like District 3 representative, who's a vendido, constantly using and leveraging power in order to enhance the viability and the entertainment value of San Pedro Square. And it was disgusting because I remember in Rules Committee that Councilwoman Foley tried to have this placed on the consent calendar. And I thank my Vice Mayor Kamei for challenging her on that, because it was it was blatant. Right there in our face, we saw Councilwoman Foley trying to just...
Back to council.
Okay. Councilor Torres.
Move to approve item 3.5.
Thank you. Okay, don't see any other hands. Let's vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Okay. I'm sorry? We now have a public hearing on item 3. Oh, I'm sorry? Yeah, we're on item 5.1 now. This is grant agreements and resolutions for the One Bay Area Grant Cycle 3 grant acceptance. Once again, no staff presentation. We'll go to public comment first.
Paul Soto?
Here's how this city exploits the poor, poverty, everything that's going on in our barrios. That ever since 1846, when Thomas Fallon planted that flag, this exploitation has been going on. Here's how it works. You guys will go and use numbers.
We need to stay on topic, please. We're on item 5.1.
Let me finish talking, homeboy. Let me finish. Now, what you'll do is you'll use your grant allocations and in your grant applications, and what you'll do is you'll exploit the poverty that's going on in the different barrios in order to support your applications for certain monies. Now, here's where it becomes disgusting, is that the poor and the poverty that you're using in these grant applications in order to support you getting the monies, those constituents will no longer be here in order to benefit from that exploitation. You see, so this is where it becomes disgusting. This is where you guys sicken me as a government, where I'm actually embarrassed and ashamed that you people represent me, with the exception of a few of you. Now, either you stop exploiting the poor, stop exploiting the conditions that you have created, and this white supremacist Jesuit order has continually to propagate through the generations, and then use those conditions that you yourselves created, working with the Jesuit order, working with people like McKinley, working with all of these different mayors, especially Ricardo, and whatever Jesuits are on this council, to continue to exploit the poverty and the poor to support your grant applications. You guys disgust me.
Back to council.
Okay, we're on item 5.1. Do we have
Move
any
to approve
hands?
item 5.1.
Thank you. I think I heard Councilor Dewan first. Apologies. You were louder, though. All right, motion from Councilor Torres, second from Dewan. Let's vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Tony. We're on to item 8.1, agreements with the Santa Clara County Housing Authority for services at First Street Interim Housing and assumption of home key obligations. We do have a short staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Rosalind Huey, Deputy City Manager and Acting Housing Director. We are very pleased to bring this item to you this afternoon, transferring this particular site, the former Sure Stay Hotel, now referred to as First Street Interim Housing, to the County Housing Authority. And Kimit Mawakana will walk us through the brief presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimit Mawakana. I'm the Division Manager in the Housing Department. The First Street Interim Housing Site was formerly known as the Shore Stay Site. The city purchased the site after a successful home key award of approximately $12 million from the state. There are 76 units at the site, and it acts as an interim housing site with services for the residents. Please note that the $1.3 million indicated on the slide was operating subsidy and not part of the purchase price. After the successful home key award by the city, we issued an RFP for a developer of the site, and the Santa Clara Housing Authority, in a partnership with Jamboree, were selected to develop the site. In September of 2022, the City Council approved the sale of the site to the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority took over operations at the site on October 1st, 2023, and we anticipate completing the transfer in the first quarter of 2024. Accordingly, some of the items we are requesting today will City Council approval allow the negotiation and execution and/or the signing and assumption of the previously City Council approved rehabilitation grant of up to $4 million and operations grant of up to $9 million for the First Street Interim Housing Site to the Housing Authority or an affiliated entity. This does not require any new city funds or additional city funds. This will simply allow the transfer to occur, as will City Council approving the amendment to the standard agreement and the authorization and providing the authorization for the director to negotiate an MOU with the Housing Authority. This concludes the brief presentation.
Great, thank you so much. I think we are going to go to public comment first. We also have a member of the Housing Authority here, as I mentioned before, in case folks have questions. Go ahead, Tony.
Yes, I have Paul.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. This property and along with the Caravel Inn, you guys already bought. You guys bought that Hyde Park area. So, and these are some of the lowest economically. I know because I'm part of that class. I'm one of those poor, disgusting people that were sleeping in your doorways. You guys bought these lowest priced motels. So what this means is that the people, the most economically viable motels in the city, you guys bought out. So the cheapest hotel room that a person can now purchase per day is $100. These were nowhere near that. So this is very strategic. So you don't get no congratulations from me. In fact, you just affirmed how disgusting you are as a government. Secondly, is that you're using grant monies that were allocated because you're so sorry as a government and you're so disgusting as a government that you will not spend one penny, but yet you're going to spend $10 million to build up San Pedro Square and build up that area. It's going to cost $10 million, and that's going to come from the general fund. But yet you will not spend one dime of city money from city coffers in order to pay. You need to get grant monies to do that. That's how sorry you are. You continually to exploit the poor and the poverty through these grant programs because you would rather do that and let someone die on the street. How many people are you going to be okay dying of exposure this year, Mayor Mahan? Huh? How many are you going to be comfortable with, homeboy?
Back to council.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Dwan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just got a quick question. Thank you, staff, for the report. Why don't we lease the land versus selling it for $1, leasing it for $1?
Thank you, council member. So early on, as we stated, the housing department included this particular site with other city-owned parcels for either emergency interim housing, affordable housing, and the housing authority and partner at that time came forward and very interested in the property. I will say that the housing authority is equipped to manage interim housing sites, whereas the city, particularly the housing department and other departments in the city, we have less experience. Obviously, we're doing more of that, but with the housing authority coming forward with and expressing the interest in assuming this site, also just wanted to note that the housing authority is also interested in assembling adjacent sites for potential longer-term redevelopment for permanent supportive housing.
Thank you. I know that Office of Economic Development always want to preserve the city property. And your explanation, I'm still a little bit confused. Even if, why can't the city lease it for $1? And you can still do a long-term lease or short-term lease. The responsibility still be with the Santa Clara County to maintain and service and build, right?
That would be correct. So the Housing Authority has indicated they're willing to actually accept the site. And I will just note that they are actually already on the site, have a new provider, and are providing those services currently.
Yeah, thank you. And second question is, why do we have 31 vacancy in that particular area?
Some of the units are uninhabitable and vacant, and some are habitable and vacant. The planned rehabilitation at the site will allow for some of the uninhabitable units to be improved so that they can be utilized as part of the rehab of the site. And as the plans were being developed, so what's going to happen at the site, it was reasonable to leave those units that are habitable and vacant until a decision is made on the rehabilitation and development of the site.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we utilize those available units so that way we can, support our unhoused residents. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those thoughtful questions. Councilmember Batra?
My questions are in line with what Councilmember Duan asked. Is it the county only wanted to do the development if they own the property, or we could still give them on a one-year lease, a $1 lease, and they would do the necessary development? Or maybe stated differently, what is the advantage of having sold it for $1 versus keeping it with $1 lease?
So, Councilmember, just to provide some context, so first of all, the city acquired the site with state housing community development home key funds, so there are some limitation with those dollars. Secondly, when the housing department did go out with the RFP 2 years ago now, it was for several other sites to be acquired from the city for interim housing or affordable housing. So that was the plan 2 years ago, not for the city to lease sites, but actually for the city to go out with these sites and have other entities purchase and provide affordable housing.
Okay, so this didn't fit into our long-term plan, whatever we wanted to have, owning this for $1.
I will say at that time 2 years ago, our plan was to get as many sites redeveloped to house our residents that desperately need the housing. And the thinking at that time was the sites would be sold, and this was included as one of them.
Okay, thank you. I make the motion to accept the report.
Great. Okay. And that's to approve the agreement.
Approved.
Yep. Great. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that answer, Rosalind. I think the question about the value of the land is a relevant one in terms of protecting the interests of our residents. I think given that it was purchased with state funding specifically for this use, and the Housing Authority is positioned to develop not just this, but potentially adjacent properties into a larger new development over time, is the rationale for this, as I understand it, which makes it a little bit different from a city-owned property that we've had for 100 years or something, right, or had some other potential use previously.
And Mayor, if I could just add, just a reminder to the council, just a reminder that the city purchased the site during the height of the pandemic. So really out of urgency to house our most vulnerable residents. And I will say, I've been to the site several times. The residents who are there are older, and many of them have medical conditions, and so we were responding to the emergency at the time.
Right. With a lot of help from state funding specific for that purpose, not a long-standing city property. But okay, good. I think that's just a helpful clarifying question. And then just quickly before we vote, are we tracking exits to permanent housing at this site? And will the Housing Authority be reporting, that may be a question for Flaherty, be reporting that out so that we can understand the performance of the site over time?
Yes, our housing response team is tracking that, and that will be part of, my understanding is that will be part of the operating agreement with the Housing Authority, and Flaherty may be able to
I see
speak more to
Flaherty's
that.
head nodding, so I think we're, okay, just want to make sure we're tracking exits to permanent housing. And then can you just clarify, apologies if I missed this, when we anticipate needing to move people out of First Street into Comfort Inn? What's the time frame for that?
Our best estimate at this time is approximately 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then finally, on this point that I think Councilor Dewan brought up of the vacant units, do we know, and I guess this may, again, be a question for the Housing Authority, the cost benefit on rehabbing those to get people in there? I mean, the preference obviously would be to have more rooms for folks. But if it's going to eventually be redeveloped, is it worth putting in the dollars to do it before the site is redeveloped?
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Flaherty Ward. I'm Director of Real Estate for the Santa Clara County Housing Authority. Very excited to be here today. Very excited to be a partner with the city on the Sure Stay. The quick answer is it depends on the unit. So the Sure Stay units are in a variety of status. Some are in great condition. Some need some TLC. So we are in the process right now of walking each of those units to determine on a unit by unit basis what is the capital needs that will make it habitable, with the understanding that the building does not have a long-term life. We don't want to do major improvements in the building, but what sort of minimal improvements can we do to make the livability more comfortable for the residents, who are our top priority? The funds that you're approving today for the Housing Authority to use will only be given to us with the approval of city staff. So once we come up with this plan, we'll present it to your housing department and they will give it a stamp of approval, and then we'll move forward.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you're doing that analysis and factoring in the fact that it will be redeveloped at some point. Thanks, that's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I don't see any other hands. Let's vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Okay, great, thank you. We're on to item 8.2, actions related to grant agreements for multiple programs serving households experiencing homelessness for fiscal year 23-24. No staff presentation, so we will go to public comment first.
Jocelyn?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jocelyn Arenas. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Wilson Center's Youth Impact Partnership about the City of San Jose's Direct Cash Transfer Program. I'm here simply to show that I'm in support of Bill Wilson Center taking on the initiative to provide supportive services and guaranteed income to students who are unhoused or at risk of becoming unhoused. I think we all know that the number of homeless youth between the ages of 18 to 24 is extremely high, and this no strings attached guaranteed income will serve as a resource for the needs that unhoused transitional age youth often encounter. These needs often include things such as car payments, school supplies, food, and anything else that that students need to continue moving forward in their education. Initiative is and will be a tremendous benefit to each participant. Thank you.
Sorry, Paul?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I really hope his hand is up first. I want to hear from D5. I want to hear from Sasi Puedes, because it's been coming out in the press that three times the amount of students are homeless now in East San Jose. That is, I mean, you guys want to tell, oh, San Jose is the greatest, we're the most innovative city in the world. You know what? Can the AI technology, people from Barrio Sasi Puedes are going to be dying on the street. How many are you comfortable with, Mayor? How many? 2? Last year was 5. Ricardo was comfortable with 5. How many are you going to be comfortable dying of exposure on the streets because they're homeless, while you are going over there and lobbying in Washington and Sakura so that you could get AI technology business here in San Jose, which is going to exacerbate and accelerate the gentrification process? You're disgusting. Why don't you look yourself in the mirror and call yourself a liar? Because then you would be very close to the truth. That's what, so I'm really expecting, I'm gonna be quiet now. I think I've stated my case, because the poverty here is 2 things. Number 1, it is extant, you can see it. Number 2, it is generational. So I want to hear, I hope his hand is up first, because I want to hear from the D5 representative, which is Sasi Puedes, the barrio where I come from.
Alex Shore?
Afternoon, Council. Alex Shore speaking here personally today.
you get these long reports, and it's always interesting to figure out which nuggets really stand out. For me, one of them is the new eviction diversion program at the City of San Jose. Mayor Mahan, you talk a lot about how it costs us $60,000 per person to house a homeless person, and yet eviction diversion, as Councilmember Ortiz was talking about today, is a fraction of that cost to prevent the problem, to prevent all that heartache that our residents face and all that money that we would spend as a city. So I'm so glad to see the city continuing to invest in eviction diversion. It is such a promising program, and I thank Emily for helping lead it. I've seen the eviction court down at the county courthouse, and it is a very, very effective intervention. We need more of those early interventions. The other item that stood out to me is that we, after seemingly having some not so good results with our outreach program, it does seem that we are discontinuing that by June of next year. And I continue to support programs that aren't working, as the council has talked about a lot here over the last few months, removing those programs to find ones that work better so our taxpayer dollars are going as far as possible. So just some thoughts and ruminations. And as I talk with San Joseans, I find the eviction diversion program is very popular. People really get it. They understand the value and the benefit it's having. So let's continue to invest in promising programs, and ones that don't work as well, I think it makes sense, even if it costs us the pain of working with a nonprofit that's trying to do good work. It makes sense to change things up. Thanks.
Back to council.
Great, thank you. Councilor Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I just wanted to thank our housing department for their extremely hard work on these new contracts and making sure that we maximize the grant funding that we receive. And I especially want to express my excitement for the direct cash assistance program for our homeless and at-risk youth, because I was a homeless and at-risk youth, sleeping in the parks and benches in District 5. I've long been an advocate for direct cash assistance programs, something that we've seen huge success in addressing poverty in countries such as Brazil and Mexico. And while this program is limited to only 100 people and the results of a federal grant, I'm eager to see the results and hope it can serve as a national model in the fight against poverty in our youth, both in the city and across the world. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to this study.
Do you want to make a motion?
And I'd make a motion to accept item 8.2.
Thank you. Great. Second from Councilor Dewan. I want to add my thanks to staff. I know the team's worked very hard to design some new programs, including the financial assistance program for homeless and at-risk youth, and provide monitoring and oversight across the different programs outlined here. I did have just a few quick questions. On the financial assistance program for homeless and at-risk youth, I'm curious if you can share a little more about how we will measure improvements that show if participants are on track to achieving self-sufficiency, and what kind of metrics we'll look at and what kind of reporting the council would have access to.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we are actually working with several community partners in developing an evaluation tool to measure that. The youth with lived experience at both the sites, so Bill Wilson Center as well as Unity Care, will actually be the ones administering that tool. We're currently determining how often. We're thinking likely quarterly. And so we'll be gathering those metrics and being able to share that information.
Okay, great. It sounds like we may not know this yet, but as you're working with the Bill Wilson Center and putting that together, I'd encourage us to track housing placements, income improvement and or job placement, college completion, or other certification attainment. I think we want to look at some hard outcomes along the way that demonstrate that we're helping participants bridge to greater self-sufficiency so that we can then use our limited public dollars to help others who need a hand up. Similarly, though a different program, on the temporary housing access program, which are the hotel motel vouchers, how are we measuring success of that program, given that it is intended to be transitional housing?
Yeah, so we're currently have a set of 2 different metrics for this particular program based within a 180-day time period. So with the target of 55% of households will move into shelter or at least into temporary shelter within 180 days of intake. And then the second metric, also within 180 days of intake, that at least 32% of households will actually move into permanent housing.
Great. That's good to know. And that 32%, 180 days, is far better than we see with a solution like congregate shelter. Significantly.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's more than double, I believe. Okay, great. That's good to know. Helpful to understand the specific measures of success. And then finally, on the eviction diversion and settlement program, just a couple of questions, and we can take it offline if you don't have it handy. But do we know at this moment, I know the number has changed over time, the average amount of assistance per household? It's just helpful for us to get a sense of what this program looks like in practice.
We have our division manager for the program, Emily, who will, I guess she has some information to answer your question, Mayor.
All right.
Do I need to press it? Yeah.
I think it's on. Oh, you want the red light. Try again. There it is.
Thank you. Red,
you got
green.
it.
It's very confusing. So since we received the last infusion last October of 2.2 million, mostly Measure E, some ARPA, the
Yeah.
average payment's been for 147 households, about 15,500.
Okay, and that's gone up over time, is my understanding. Is that?
Well, we've imposed some thresholds, so we really are targeting people who are able to pay rent going forward.
Right.
And we wanted to extend the funds as much as possible, so we had some limits. And then part of the negotiation for anybody that had back rent that was over that, they would have a payment plan, or the property owner might forgive it. So it's hard to measure, but that seemed to be a sweet spot.
Yeah, and you're always turning the dial between getting someone to stability, but versus helping more people. There's just a trade-off there, obviously. And then do we know, are we tracking, I assume we're tracking how well people are remaining housed over time. Do you happen to have any data on that?
So we're developing a survey. I mean, our main objective, these are all people who are in court. They're about to be evicted. So we know that they're going to be housed. The action will be dismissed. But we're working on a survey to start in the next month or two to contact both the tenants and the property owners to find and ask them a number of questions so we can find out how well it's working and what we may want to do in the future.
So we'll know over time if they're staying, if they are housed still.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And then my understanding is that this funding helps us stabilize about 200 households. Last year, I think it was 230 is my understanding from the math we have. I assume the need is much higher. Are court cases still tracking at record levels? Do you have a sense of the magnitude just in the court system?
Yeah, so I ran the numbers, and I'm sure many people saw the Cal Matters article. They're still maybe not increasing as much, but it's still at a really high level. And our people are still really busy in court. So when we initially launched this, it was to deal with kind of after effects of the rent relief program. So there was a bunch there, and we don't know. Some of those people may not still be in their place. The objective was to get funds out the door. We've had to tweak a little based on what we've seen. So we may not be going for 200. We're having a much more conservative approach because we're finding when we lowered the threshold, less people were eligible. And we don't want people with unmanageable payment plans. So we're probably more around 150, 125 for this current amount of funding.
I see. Okay. But the need is still much higher than that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people who can't demonstrate that they can pay rent going forward, and we're not paying that arrearage. We're really just trying to fill this one gap. And there's still, it's a small percentage of who's coming through the eviction court, and it doesn't account for people who move out once they get behind in rent.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the additional context on
Yeah,
the
no
program.
problem.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Once again, just want to thank staff for designing programs that help get at this terrible challenge of displacement that we're facing, and really look forward to learning more about how these work over time. Appreciate the forethought around what we want to measure to understand the success of the program. Okay, we have a motion. I don't see any other hands. Let's vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Great, thank you. We are on to item 10.2. This is the Capital Caltrain Urban Village General Plan Amendment. There is a staff presentation, so we'll welcome staff down to the box.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Charla Alexandra Gomez. I lead the station area planning team in the Citywide Planning Division and the Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement Department in the city. Our team is responsible for preparing urban village plans as part of the implementation strategy of the city's general plan. Together with me this afternoon is Eric Roberts, a station area planner in my team, the project manager responsible for preparing the Capital Caltrain Urban Village Plan. That is being considered for adoption this afternoon as item 10.2 in the agenda. We would like to do a short presentation. We'll try to be as brief as possible. I will provide a summary of the key highlights of what this plan is all about, and we're happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Here with me is Michael Rio, Deputy Director of Planning, Martina Davies, Division Manager. So we're ready to start the presentation as soon as you're ready.
Great, thank you. Let's jump in.
Next slide, please. Oh, you have it?
It's over there. Oh, here you go.
Oh, okay. So very generally, this is where the urban village is located. It's in the south side of the city. Generally is located within the quarter mile of the Capital Caltrain station. It is on Monterey. You can see in the exhibit the Caltrain line, and it's basically 16 acres of land at the intersection of Monterey and Fern Drive, generally speaking. So very briefly, a background of this Capital Caltrain Urban Village. This effort was identified by the Monterey Corridor Working Group. So staff was directed to start this planning process. And one of the reasons why this effort started was, number one, based on the Capital Caltrain service improvements. As some of you know, they are projected to have an increase of weekday passengers trains by 2040, basically about 1,700 passengers. There's an increase in the high-speed rail service projections. To get a sense of how big this plan is 16 acres. What you see there in the slide is the projected capacities, about 30,000 square feet of commercial and 700 dwelling units. This is an area plan that it will be adopted with conforming rezoning. And very briefly, the planning process was about a year. It was a very important process we did with the community. Some highlights about the community outreach process we did. We did a notification within 1,000 feet. That is approximately 3,000 properties. We issue about 4,000 mailings, and we had 2 community workshops. It was attended about 30 plus community members. We also did a dedicated website, social media, and so forth. So we had the Planning Commission presentation on November the 8th. And we are here this afternoon for you for adoption of the plan. Very, very briefly, what this plan is all about, how it fits into the context of the city. Capital Caltrain is identified as a regional transit urban village. This is because of the proximity to the Caltrain station and the service projections. These are, as you know, the city's general plan identified this as compact communities. These places are basically areas where people can live and work. We bring a lot of placemaking concepts. The idea is just reduce traffic, auto use, and greenhouse gas emissions. These are places to walk, bike, take transit, and the idea is just that these places foster economic development. This is the statement of the vision of the urban village. I'm not going to read all of that, but basically this is a place that is designed to foster placemaking and trans-oriented development based on the service projections of the Caltrain. As is typical in our urban village plans, we create some guiding principles that stem from the vision statement. So number one is the idea to promote commercial development. This is basically at the intersection of Ferrin and Monterey. Principle 2 is the idea to create a central open space corridor or paseo that Eric is going to talk a little bit more about that. Principle number 3 is the idea of enhancing pedestrian safety and priority. This connects with some of the direction that the Monterey Corridor Working Group gave us. Principle 4 is the idea of fostering housing development, and this is the 700 units that, by the way, that capacity was identified also as part of the Monterey Corridor Working Group. With that, I'm going to pass it to Eric, who is going to present the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, for the detailed introduction and background. I'll kick off talking about the urban village plan, starting with land use here. Here's the graphic that Charlotte showed earlier. This is a 1/4 acre surrounding the Caltrain station with the general plan capacities on the left of the screen. And in order to accommodate these capacities, we implemented 2 primary land uses, the urban village land use in the northern block north of Ferrin Drive and the urban residential district, which is south of Ferrin Drive in the tan color. And in order to preserve existing commercial uses, we left the neighborhood community commercial uses as well as the mixed use neighborhood and used a floating park in order to accommodate open space desires that were voiced by the community. This arrangement would allow for the highest intensity of development on the blocks which are both nearest to the Caltrain transit, bus transit station, as well as where these sites are most developable. Visualized further, here's the urban village at the top of the screen where you can see what we are envisioning as a maximum of 90 feet and a maximum of 130 dwelling units per acre. That would be somewhere in the vicinity of 7 feet at a maximum, depending on construction techniques, and likewise at the bottom of the screen, urban residential at 95 dwelling units per acre at 70 feet, somewhere in the vicinity of 6 stories in height, depending again on development or construction techniques. In this diagram, we can see heights tapering down from the north of the urban village down to 45, again, respecting what I mentioned as intensity, most intense at the north of the site. Now we'll begin a short discussion of urban design. So our urban design framework is largely centered around the intersections of the urban village, Rancho Drive and Ferrin Drive, both with Monterey Road. At the south, the neighborhood commercial node is, again, where the existing commercial uses, including the famous DiMaggio's restaurant and an existing grocery store, intersect with Monterey Road. And as you can see at the top, where Ferrin Drive intersects with the Caltrain station, as well as what we are proposing as ground level activated uses. And so in this gateway node rendering, we can see that there are transportation improvements, including a mobility hub. We can also see the park, which I'll discuss later, as well as ground level retail above, ground level retail below residential uses, as well as a VTA shared parking facility where an existing Caltrain park and ride exists. Here's a pedestrian level rendering of that intersection of Ferrin Drive and Monterey. So you can see some of the visual components we are anticipating there. Now I'll begin a brief discussion of open space. Now, the central piece of this open space concept is the central paseo system, which would navigate pedestrians from north to south. This is a tilted diagram. North and south is to the left and right. Through the middle of the paseo is also what we're envisioning, the floating park that I mentioned earlier. We're envisioning this as a half-acre site, and the paseo would traverse through this Central Park feature. Moving on to circulation and streetscape for the Capital Caltrain Urban Village. So this is Farron Drive now. There's a hazardous condition both at this intersection and at Rancho where pedestrians would have to traverse across two separate slip lanes, as well as the actual crossing of Farron Drive itself. And further at Farron Drive, you can see there's only a crossing at the northern intersection at Farron and Monterey. And so we're planning to, or we're proposing within the plan pedestrian and roadway improvements such as buffered bike lanes, widened sidewalks, parklets, street trees, other items to prioritize pedestrians within this area. Our conceptual parking plan also would limit some of the auto impacts within the urban village, particularly through the shared parking within the north block. The shared parking, by the way, would be between VTA Caltrain Park and Ride, as well as the residential and commercial uses proposed. Total parking would be 925. We don't have parking minimums or maximums, of course, but in this instance, we are assuming a market rate of about 1 parking space per residential unit. Visualize all the pieces together. This is the north block, so we can see some of the pieces that we talked about all in one. So that includes the parking at the podium level, some level of surface parking at the eastern access drive. We can see the Paseo, the park, as well as the number of stories and dwelling units that we've envisioned through a test fit analysis with our design consultant. Likewise, here is a similar rendering for the mid-block. We can again see the ground level retail at the corner of Monterey and Farron, as well as the Paseo traversing the south and streetscape improvements along Monterey. And finally, the neighborhood node, or the south block as it's referred to in the plan, with existing commercial development. We're, again, not proposing any land use changes in this region, but we are proposing streetscape improvements, and that includes crossings and street plantings. So moving on to our the Planning Commission recommendation, that would include adoption of the addendum to the Envision San Jose 2040 General Plan Final EIR and supplemental EIR in accordance with CEQA, adoption of a resolution of the Council of the City of San Jose amending the Envision San Jose 2040 General Plan pursuant to Title 18 of the San Jose Municipal Code to modify land use designations on properties within the Capital Caltrain Urban Village and adopt the Capital Caltrain Urban Village Plan. And finally, to approve an ordinance rezoning 10.3 gross acres to conforming rezonings with those land use changes. We also received an additional Planning Commission recommendation, a friendly amendment to consider increasing the maximum density and commensurate height for those residential uses. They do not recommend a specific metric for that increase. Staff is not recommending the additional Planning Commission recommendation. We have a rationale that we're happy to discuss. And that concludes our presentation.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Just before we go to public comment, I think we're all dying to know what about the park makes it floating?
It's not futuristic. We've utilized this in other urban village plans. Essentially, it dictates a general area where we want a park to be located. It can be built by either public or private means. Likely, it would be private. And we just don't have a specific boundary for this. It's a way around having to designate a site open space. It gives developers some flexibility.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And just to add to that, so unless the city owns the land, we can't designate it for a park. So it's floating. It's generally in that area.
Okay. We could make it a condition of approving a development, though.
Correct.
Okay, great. Got it. Figured that was the case. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you. All right, let's go to public comment.
Eric, followed by Paul.
Yeah, good evening. This is Eric Schoenauer, and I represent Granite Rock. And we forwarded to the council via email a letter yesterday. And Granite Rock operates a heavy industrial construction material facility across Monterey Highway. And the City Council just approved modernization and expansion of that facility earlier this year. And so that facility is going to be there for many more decades beyond the 141 years it's already been there. There's also other industrial land. So our request is that the plan that you're adopting tonight might include explicit language that notifies the community, future developers, landowners, that there is heavy industrial operations across the street so that they may design their project in a manner that would minimize any noise impacts on future residents. I'll just note that the concept plans that the staff has created in the plan are in the right direction in that they orient the open space and the building courtyards towards the west instead of the east. So if that's how the project ultimately gets built, that will make sense, especially since Monterey Highway itself is very busy and noisy. And the rail line that has freight rail, Caltrain, and future high-speed rail all will be very noisy. So this new neighborhood should orient towards the west, towards the east and not towards the west. So we hope council will add a statement acknowledging the heavy industrial uses across the street. Thank you.
Paul?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I want to thank Mr. Schoenauer for bringing those to the attention in terms of orienting the open space towards the east. He is absolutely 100% correct. I'm an heir to a couple of the properties inside that barrio. So this has my interest because of progeny. And so the other thing that I'd like to suggest is possibly considering annexing certain areas of that space into the city of San Jose. Some of it is still designated county property. And so there's little tiny pockets in that area that is still county and not city. So I don't know if that's been taken into consideration or if it should, but like I said, I got a financial interest in that. So I want to make sure that the properties of the families that are in that area are protected, and that there is one other issue that has not been addressed, and that is cars. The cars, you have 925 spaces, yet this city continually talks long masa about, oh, we need to take the cars off the roads because of we need bikes, we need walking. Well, then, hey, homeboy, what's up with this? You got that kind of density, you walk 925 spaces, and you got it located right directly across the street from a Caltrain station, and you're gonna sit there again with your straight face and tell me that somehow or another, oh, well, what you're seeing, Mr. Soto, is not what you're seeing. You ain't David Copperfield.
Back to council.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Dewan?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited about the proposal for the Capital Caltrain Urban Village Plan in my district. Monterey Road had been somewhat of a neglect for many years, and to revitalize it and to have this type of project is pretty exciting. Well, not only on top of that, by pursuing the climate smart San Jose energy, water, and mobility goals, I believe that our city will continue to be the leader in our country. I do have a few questions for staff. First of all, thank you for the report. How come our density level is lower than other areas for this project?
Councilmember Dunn, yes. So in preparation for the plan, we conducted a market study We hired Strategic Economics who did a market study, very detailed. So we got a really good sense of the densities that the market would support. So we know that what we're proposing is consistent with the direction of that market study. We also have a range of densities. We believe that the lower density range will support the type of what the market will support and meet long term. And high densities is probably very aspirational, but that's how we calibrated the densities. In this particular part of San Jose, the market showed that there is no really support for high density residential projects.
Is it feasible to increase the 10% of what the amount of housing, like 765? Oh, I believe it's, what was the amount? 721.
Yeah. So 721 was basically a number that we came up for the conceptual design of the plan. The actual capacity of the plan is 700 units. So we know that at the densities that the market supports, potentially this plan could accommodate 720 units. Now the 10% increase is something that we were considering if council will follow the recommendation from Planning Commission, and we thought that that was a marginal increase that we could accommodate in the plan without affecting a lot of variables that we could happily to elaborate. But we think that that's something that we could do if council desires to do that, but that is just a marginal increase that will not impact a lot of things in the plan.
Well, and just a clarification, and staff I think can put up the recommendation of the 10%, what that looks like, but it's an increase in the heights and the density that's allowed. It's not the increase in the capacity of the village. In other words, it wouldn't go from 700 to 770 units. The reason for that is that if council wants to do that, that's its discretion. That's a heavier lift, and we would have to get direction to do that CEQA analysis and come back with general plan amendments at a later date for the council's consideration.
And I believe
but in terms of just increasing the amount, the heights and the upper density limits by 10%, that's totally doable tonight from a CEQA point of view.
Well, thank you for that. And I believe this is the concept, and the plan is not going to be in fruition until, let's say, after approval by probably like 10 years from now. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I think so one thing I just want to highlight is that this urban village plan is part of our site inventory of our housing element, which we anticipate sending to the state tomorrow. And so we do anticipate that some portion, but not all of it, would develop within the next 8-year period, and some of it would likely be developed later than that.
Thank you. Is there pros and cons regarding Granite Rock just having a mention in there that they're going to remain there for a long term?
I mean, what I can say is that the recommendation to allocate housing in this part of Monterey is actually a recommendation that came from the Monterey Corridor Working Group, and the Santa Gravet operation and the representative of that particular business was part of that task force. So this was identify an area that was suitable for this area plan. As part of the beautification and improvement efforts, they came directly from that recommendation. So as specifically to answer your question, whether or not there is potential effect, there is really the right-of-way of Monterey is a very significant barrier that divides both land uses. But if council decides that's something that is important to include, I think council can decide to do that.
Yeah, let me just add to that. So I don't think it's necessary to include that. We have, we have lots of policies about preserving industrial land in the general plan. I don't think Eric is proposing to put new policies in this plan. It's just a statement about acknowledging the importance of and the longevity and the likelihood that we support it staying. Granite Rock would anticipate to stay for a very long period of time. So it doesn't have any policy teeth. We do have a lot of policy teeth there. So I don't think it's absolutely necessary, frankly, but staff is fine with including it. So we think it's kind of neither here nor there.
Well,
So-
Councilmember, if I may just sharpen your question, I'm sorry to interject. Can we just be more specific on what is in place to ensure the quality of life for the residents who go there, and that whoever develops that site as residential is mitigating potential impacts of a long-standing heavy industrial occupant across the street?
Yeah, those kind of things would be considered as part of the CEQA process and the actual review of an actual development.
And what kinds of things might be done to mitigate as part of the CEQA process?
So, I mean, there's obviously noise could be an issue, so there you probably end up having to use thicker glass that reduces the amount of noise, not just from Granite Rock, actually. Frankly, it could be high-speed rail someday, and then perhaps the traffic on Monterey is even noisier, frankly. So there would be things like that you'd have to do to mitigate the noise, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry to interject. I just want to make sure that councilors getting I wanted to try to reframe that a little bit. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. So at this point, I'd like to.
I was just going to add one more thing. So, I mean, as staff and the general plan is very supportive of the use of Granite Rock. So if the council wanted to include that, that's consistent with the language in the general plan. It's totally fine. It's just that it's not, in and of itself, it's not like adding another policy that's somehow going to ensure the longevity of Granite Rock.
It's merely just a statement. It doesn't change the outcome. So I move to accept the staff recommendation with the addition that 10% increase in housing density and an acknowledgement to statement for Granite Rock.
And just a clarification on that, to confirm that it's a 10% increase.
In heights and density.
Yeah, in heights and density, because you want to make sure that they go in tandem together, because.
Yeah, that is the recommendation from Planning Commission, is an increase in heights and density. So the marginal increase, the 10% is in both.
I'll agree to that, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that if no one else will. I guess I've done it. Okay.
Yeah, I second it.
Great. Councilmember Dewan, appreciate the motion. Anything else from you?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you for the questions. What I was curious about, because I wasn't, this obviously isn't in my district, but I'm intrigued just because it's down the street from District 2. And I was part of the Monterey Corridor Working Group for a little while. But was Caltrain involved in the working group? I don't remember them attending. And I'm wondering if you can just speak to, because that parking lot on the corner of Farron, I think, is their property, that massive parking lot there?
To be honest with you, I don't remember exactly if they were part of the Monterey Corridor Working Group. What I know is a very large group of stakeholders that strategically look at all these issues along Monterey. It's a much more larger study, not just this area of the Capital Caltrain Station Area Plan, Urban Village Plan. It's just a more significant corridor.
Okay, so I don't think they were, but I guess maybe I need to rephrase my question, but as it relates to this specific plan here in this, what we're talking about, the piece of land we're talking about, were they involved in that discussion?
Yes, to be very specific, we did reach out to Caltrain. They had the opportunity to review the policies, and they were fully aware of this presentation for you tonight.
Okay, very good. Did they ever submit a letter, anything, concerns, anything that we should be aware of?
Not to our knowledge. We fully engaged them. They were notified. They knew exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
To clarify, the property owner of that lot, I believe at the southwestern corner of Farron and Monterey, the property owner is VTA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
And we coordinated closely with VTA as well.
Yeah, with both of them.
Okay. Thank you for that. So there's another park and ride lot, Caltrain park and ride lot down Monterey on Blossom Hill Road, which is in my district, and we've often had confusion as to who owns that, but I just was texting my staff. That lot, for example, which is a Caltrain park and ride lot, is managed by VTA but owned by Caltrain. And so you're saying
this particular property, BTA is the owner of that land.
Okay, all right.
And they operate the parking and ride facility.
Okay.
But they have an agreement with Caltrain in terms of shared parking, things like that. And we're happy to elaborate that because we were very careful to propose land use policies that were in resonance to both those agencies.
Very good. Okay. All right. And then I know that sitting on the VTA board, we've moved forward some TOD policies as it relates to, you know, developing housing near transit and such. Obviously, this is very much in that spirit. Do you trying to get a sense as to what happens next? Is VTA is the owner of the property, which again I didn't know it was VTA, but do we expect that they're going to release an RFP? I mean, and I'm on the board, I haven't heard of this yet,
Yeah,
but I'm just curious.
I'm happy to elaborate on that. So we know that this property is not part of the TOD portfolio of program of TOD portfolio at VTA.
That it's not?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not listed. They have priorities for other areas that in the city, but they were fully aware of the development potential we're proposing here, and particularly the densities that we're proposing here is in support of the TOD policy of VTA.
Okay. Well, to add to that, so there's a sort of initial round of projects that they're developing on their park and ride lots, and this is not one of them, but in conversation with Ron Gullum at VTA, the real estate guy, he's like, yeah, you know, in the next 8 years or so, we very much could turn to this one, say, let's turn this one on and do an RFP. So it's not outside of the realm of possibilities, it's sort of the next phase.
Okay. All right. But that doesn't, just so I can further understand, that doesn't prohibit a developer to come and say, hey, VTA, nice lot, can I build something on it?
Correct.
I would think so.
And we're seeing that on another lot, not for housing though.
Yeah, I thank you for that. And I just think this is a prime location. This is an awesome location. It's obviously down on one of the major corridors, really the heart of the city. And so, not the heart of the city, but flows to the heart of the city. But anyway, thank you for the answers. I appreciate it. And I'll be supporting the motion.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Jimenez. Vice Mayor Kameh?
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. I was a little bit sort of curious in terms of, and you answered part of it through Councilmember Duan's question regarding the, higher densities, and you mentioned that the market study didn't support higher densities. Did I hear you correctly on that? And I was wondering why? Because when you think about having, like so close to transit, it would be really great to have even higher densities, or establishing what a minimum is for that area, because it's prime, right? And so to me, I know you have that range. I actually think that 700 housing units is low. But, I was just curious as to why it would not support it.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in the market study. What we can say is that the location of that particular property, or those 16 acres, is not really appealing to high density or higher rents.
But it's going to be next to a Caltrain station.
That is correct. It's just very counterintuitive, but that is correct.
It almost seems to me, sort of like having townhomes over in the Berryessa BART station. You would want to have higher densities if you really want to promote that ridership, right? And to me, it seems sort of like a little bit, counterintuitive. It's sort of, so I'm thinking, I'm going to get 994 units in one little section on El Paseo, almost no, well, we have a bus, but, so I'm confused.
Yeah, I think Charlotte hit it. It's the rents that would be generated by development here aren't high enough to pay to going to a type 1 construction or going denser than we have in this plan. So, we'd like to think that transit adds increases the rent that you can get, adds, and I think that often, we don't have studies in front of us, but often is the case. Yeah. But in this particular place and other places in San Jose, the real driver of rents is being close to where the jobs are, and depends on what neighborhood you are in. And this location of Monterey, even though the transit may actually help increase the rents of any development that would happen there, it won't increase it enough to make like a 10-story building feasible. And that's what the market analysis showed. So it's not that that couldn't happen someday, but they didn't foresee that happening.
Yeah. Is there a minimum threshold? I'm just wondering.
There is a minimum threshold. So in a slide earlier in the presentation, we showed a range for the urban village district. That range, I'll just go to it on my screen here, that is between 65 to 130. And for the urban village, 40 dwelling units to 95 dwelling units per acre. And I want to add too that with that density range, if you calculate the maximum, you just called out the 700 capacity in the general plan. That's the capacity that's mentioned in the general plan, but the actual numbers are close to double that in the proposed scenario before the 10% increase that the Planning Commission, that we recommended on behalf of the Planning Commission. So those numbers are approximately 1,400 units at the maximum, and then with the 10% increase, that goes up about 150 units to almost 1,600, or just over 1,600.
That's good to know. That's good to know, because I was thinking that, gosh, you know, because we need housing, right? I mean, it'd be great if it was near the transit areas, right? And maybe not today, but perhaps in a few years, things could kind of like be different. And from what I can see, there is an attractive element of having to just walk across the street and be able to take that train. I mean, there's just, you know, I mean, I look at areas like Mountain View. I never thought that it was going to be so easy, but it is, and they've made it work. So I think that as we move this forward, you know, having more density is not, is I don't think a problem, but you know, you have your studies to say otherwise, and it just seems so strange to me, so, but thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. And I want to say thank you for those comments. I agree. I just had a similar conversation with Chris Burton along the same lines, and I'm glad that we are increasing, it looks like, assuming the motion carries, we are increasing the density marginally here. But I do want to caution us against setting caps because that's what the current market analysis says. We don't know if over the next 5 years, there may be some innovation in building methods that brings down the cost of construction, and suddenly 6, 7 stories is viable, and we've artificially capped it. The idea that the analysis shows it doesn't pencil today or the market doesn't bear it today, to me doesn't mean that that's good public policy. In fact, I would think allowing for greater flexibility, really, you know, attempting to send a signal to the market that we want to maximize density near transit stations, as we've said, is important. And it may just be that the market comes in and bills to the minimums that we set because that's all the market will bear, and at least we get some housing and we've set a minimum and it is what it is. But it may also be that down the road there are unforeseen changes in the market. I think after many years of stagnation, we're actually seeing some innovation in construction methods. I think we are seeing things change, and it would be a shame if we were the ones who ended up inadvertently artificially capping how many units we get here because we've predetermined, oh, the market won't support anything more than that. Now, I know there are other considerations, what the community will support, parking, there are other factors, but I would just encourage us, especially near fixed or heavy rail, to have higher caps, and let's see what the market does over the coming years. That would be my philosophy, at least.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, though, and I think
Sure.
we've been talking about why we set the densities that we did based on a market study. That was actually only one of the reasons. The other reason is to respect the community engagement process, right? So there was a lot of conversation with the community about what kind of development would fit in there. So I think, you know, we pushed the envelope a little bit, I think, of what some people would have wanted to see, frankly. And so it's sort of a balancing act. And I think if we had found the market studies, like, you know, you could support 10-story buildings here, then we would have had a much more difficult conversation with the community. Right. The community wanted lower. The market study says low is kind of all you're going to get for the next 15, 20 years, maybe 30 years, who knows. So I think we didn't have that difficult conversation. So I just want to emphasize that it wasn't just what the market study says, it was came out of the community engagement process.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And look, that is a slightly better reason. I don't believe we know what will happen in 15 years. I just don't. Whether it comes to transportation, construction methods, housing, whatever. I just don't believe we can accurately predict what the world will look like in 15 years. But the community engagement process, this is where we landed, is a better reason to me than us saying this is what the market will bear, therefore we're going to cap it there. I don't buy that as a great public policy reason or urban planning reason. Okay, so sorry, Councilmember Cohen, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. I have a few questions as well. The site, so that you mentioned 16 acres. That includes that southern part that is not housing but is being saved for its current use?
Correct.
So the density on the site really shouldn't include the full 16 acres when we calculate units per acre, right? It should be the part that's housing portion, or do we calculate that density over the entire 16 acres?
The 700 units that the general plan sets forth for capacities encompasses the entire area. Now, we did calculate the amount of density before and after with the existing zoning and the densities that we're proposing. And in the existing condition, the sites that would be rezoned can accommodate approximately 722 units with entitlements, conditional use permits, et cetera. Just under 600 units likewise could be accommodated on sites south of that which is being rezoned, which by the way is about 10.3 acres. So overall, 722 plus 598 units is the amount of overall maximum development capacity that currently exists. What we're doing with these new land uses is that these land uses would then be permitted by right, and we're also increasing the maximum capacity, right? So does that answer your question?
I think so. So in theory, someday we could come back, a future council could come back and say, rezone the other portion of the property, the southern portion, and put housing there as well. Because that whole area was designated urban village, and that could be. So
Yeah,
we're
I would
developing
like-
basically the northern part on the housing.
I would like to clarify that preserving the existing retail in the south is a community value, something that in the workshops they said, look, we don't really have a lot of commercial opportunities here for the neighborhood. What we want is just to preserve that and have access to it, because right now it's so difficult to access those facilities. But all those retail opportunities there are just seen as very important assets to the community. So what we did, and this is a typical part of the planning process in an urban village, is that we accommodate the housing where we see the best opportunity is for that, while preserving what the community wants to see.
Yeah, it makes sense. But in theory, back to the question about 15 years from now, somebody could say, well, we can replace this with density, which has first floor retail that still replaces some of those same amenities for the community. But that would be a future decision, since we're not really changing the use of the southern part of the property right now.
That's
we're only
correct.
changing the use of the northern part.
I also
So
want to
think
add
that's-
too that residential is not it's not permitted in the current zoning. It just requires entitlements. Notwithstanding that, of course, a rezoning would allow that to be an easier situation. But the existing land uses, part of what we do in an urban village plan is we try to create a complete community, and that involves ensuring that residents have resources and amenities in a nearby proximity, right? And so given that there is DiMaggio's, given that there is religious institutions, numerous, given that there is a grocery store, we want to make sure that we're preserving a critical component of this complete community.
Yeah.
And so moving forward, that is, of course, something that we could come back to council for. But at this time, given, again, just the term of development that we're looking at and what the market has suggested, this is our best approach for, again, creating that complete
For the near
community.
term.
For the,
Yes.
well,
for now,
and to
but
midterm, I would
for
say.
what we know now, this is the right approach, and then
Correct.
who knows? I always look at, for example, what Milpitas has done next to the Great Mall and next to the light rail and BART station. They've put in the amenities that they need as part of the developments that are going in, and seem to be able to support the density that we are having trouble supporting. And I always try to understand why certain areas are doing that well and others are not.
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is that BART runs, every 15 minutes, and Caltrain runs 3 times a day. So
Yeah.
there's a big difference in this location.
Yeah, no,
I just don't want to discount buses. We often forget about buses. Actually, this Monterey does have some of the best bus service in the city, but it's not quite the same in Milpitas, but let's hope someday it will be.
We don't know. If high-speed rail does come through, things, what happens at that site might change significantly, but this is.
But you were totally correct, Councilmember. Yeah, down the road, if things really start popping and the Caltrain service really increase, the council could come back and say, let's move forward with mixed use on the El Rancho location.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, just to understand the motion a little bit, so what your original recommendation was 700, we've just increased it by 10%.
To clarify, the 700 is the general plan capacity. We are not proposing that. That would be an entirely different action. The 10% increase would be for the density, the maximum density, and the commensurate height to accommodate that density. So the overall developable units would go from, as I said earlier, approximately 1,400 to somewhere in the vicinity of 1,600.
For the overall site.
Exactly. But the general plan capacity of 700 would remain unchanged.
And the capacity is the capacity that was analyzed in the general plan EIR.
So this density change is basically to be able to potentially build that same number of units on a smaller footprint because it would be denser, but we have not change the general plan capacity, and therefore it would require additional
Correct.
work, EIR and other things, to then go beyond the 700.
Right, so if, let's just say that the development ends up happening much at the denser end of the range, and half the properties are developed and we've already hit 700. What would have to happen for the rest of the properties to redevelop is there'd have to be just an additional environmental analysis to analyze adding more capacity and what the impacts are, citywide. And so it's not like an insurmountable thing. It's just something a technical thing that would have to be done.
Well, I suspect that this density increase in the motion is kind of just a technical thing and not necessarily going to make any difference, because it seems to me developers these days are building as little density as they are allowed to build. So I'm not sure. I just wonder what the practical effect of this is. I mean, as much as we'd like to see it go denser.
In theory, a developer could come in and they could build at that maximum density, and then you could have a neighboring property owner that develops at that bottom density. And one of the potential downsides, besides going against community, what the community outreach effort has told us, is that you could have, a development that's at the very bottom of that range of density. Now we've increased the maximum by 10%, and you could have some potentially incompatible intensities. I don't believe that that's going to be significant at the ranges that we've proposed, but that is one potential downside.
Okay.
But Councilmember, yeah, so given the market that we have now, the inclination, I mean, honestly, this level of density is not feasible currently, and with the cost of construction study session that you guys saw a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, in the marketplace we're in now, the developers are going to they're going to move towards the lower end of the density.
But we're at the beginning of this process, and my hope is that in a couple of years, that market analysis will change. One last question. The distance to Granite Rock, I mean, we keep calling out Granite Rock, but when I look at the map and I see a train line, a rail, which is sometimes pretty noisy and heavy, and the road, I just wonder if Granite Rock is a significant impact compared to some of these other things. How far is Granite Rock from this site compared to the Granite Rock and Pick and Pull and all those locations that are near the Berryessa BART Urban Village right across? I mean, are those closer or about the same distance? These are closer?
I can't speak to the distance relative to others. I mean, this is approximately 200 feet away, maybe 300 feet away from the residences that would be in the Capital Caltrain Urban Village. But what I will say is that CEQA analyzes the impacts of a project on the environment, not the impacts of the environment on a project. Right. And so when we look at the Granite Rock facility, that's an existing condition. And so CEQA is not going to analyze the impacts of the residences relative. It's going to analyze the impacts of the residences on Granite Rock, as it turns out, which sounds strange in this instance, but the existing condition is already there.
Right. There's already disclosure requirements on real estate, right? I mean, you have to tell what kind of industrial is near real estate and all, as it is when you do that. So I'm just wondering. I mean, it's fine to put this in. I was just curious as to what.
Yeah, I think Eric is correct. As part of the CEQA process is the other way, the analysis. But in any case, any kind of real estate and underwriting, they have to disclose the operation of the whatever is happening as part of the transactions of real estate.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate it. Councilor Candelas.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a brief comment and then a question for staff. I appreciate the presentation and the dialogue from my colleagues, and the fact that this is less than a quarter mile from a transit hub, this urban village plan, and creating that natural capacity to create ridership is important as we look at land use and places to densify for our future population growth. And so, I'll be supporting the motion on the floor, but I have a question on the community engagement piece, and especially a comment from staff on, it goes into a conflict with what the community desires. And so what are we doing to circle back on this process to the community to communicate, the outcome of this? Because from my understanding, there was some feedback as part of the process that they did not want. So help me understand what the next step is based on action today.
Right. So at the first community workshop in May 2022, we did a Lego exercise in which we had participants sort of, stack up based on, 1-story, 2-story, 3-story, what they wanted. And based on that feedback, that was how we arrived at the originally proposed land uses and intensities and heights. which we're actually at, I believe, closer to 95 dwelling units per acre was the maximum for Urban Village. Notice that we've now increased that to 130, and with the 10% increase, 145. So much higher than what was what we had originally envisioned based on that activity. So when we came back to the community at the for the second workshop in June of this year, we proposed those land use intensities. Now, the reason why we went further was due to no net loss for SB 330 compliance. Right. And so that increase already reflected a jump from what we determined was compatible for community input based on that Lego exercise in May of 2022. So again, we had the feedback from the community. We tried to implement it. We turned back around and showed that to them at the first workshop. And then again, we did increase that slightly just for SB 330 compliance, but that wraparound to the community did happen.
Right. So in other words, we presented it at the second workshop, and the community was not expressing concerns with what we presented, and they were generally happy with what we presented.
But okay, fair enough.
So I think when we say there was concerns from the community, it was not concerns with what we are presenting here tonight. It was concerns with going up to 10, 12-story buildings, which is not what's currently on the table.
Okay.
I would also add, if I may, and this is, Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think as part of the Planning Commission recommendation, something that was mentioned is that certain projects will, 100% affordable housing projects will get ministerial review approval. So when you have these additional heights and densities, basically the community has no chance to say anything about the height of densities. And they're going to say, okay, what happened with our planning process in the urban village? And if, as part of the housing element, this also applies to market rate housing products, basically the community virtually will not have an opportunity to say anything about a substantial increase in heights and intensity. So this is part of the analysis we did with the 10%. We say, okay, how much can we push the envelope and still within the permissible limits of a lot of considerations. That includes the market, that includes CEQA, but also includes the community. So we did that kind of calibrated analysis. Okay, this marginal increase of 10% kind of fits on the aspirations and the recommendations of the Planning Commission without really derailing a lot of the processes like CEQA. We will have to do really significant, changes and a lot of things. So yeah, it's a very complex.
No, I appreciate the pragmatism in response to the recommendation. So, but I appreciate the clarification and happy that we are going to go, that additional step, knowing what we know from the community who's going to be affected from this, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever a developer or somebody wants to actually build. But no, I appreciate the presentation, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilor Batra.
Thank you for the detailed report and analysis and answering questions. I only got does this have a inclusionary policy requirements of whatever any building we have? Do we have to have the affordable home, or this is exempt from that?
Affordable housing requirements, IHO inclusion apply pretty much citywide, so there's no exemption in this urban village for meeting those requirements.
So there would be what, 10% or 15% or what?
15, yeah, and there's different ways you can meet that requirement.
Sure, okay, and we right now we have that inclusionary policy in there, whether they pay in lieu fee or whether they do actually build it, we don't know what that would be the case, right?
So in addition to what Michael has said about the inclusionary ordinance applying citywide, there is a policy that specifically calls out that we want to maintain that consistency. And then we further rendered a goal of 20% affordable housing within that. So we're accommodating beyond that 15%.
But that is a goal, not a requirement of development.
Correct. So does it apply to this particular proposal or not?
It does not. It does not. So, I mean, we have a goal, an aspirational goal of 20%, but it does not a requirement that would apply to this.
Setting aside the aspirational goal of 20%, there's the 15%, the inclusionary housing ordinance, which is outlined. There's a little bit of complexity around the different ways you can satisfy it, which is all outlined on the city website. That's a citywide policy that is only exempted in downtown, and so otherwise, yes, it would apply here.
Okay, that's all I want to make sure. That aspirational is fine, but I want to see what's real today. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, I don't see any other hands. Thank you to staff for the thorough presentation, answering all of our questions. Tony, let's vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you, colleagues. We're on to open forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on city business that was not on today's agenda.
I have no hands.
Okay, we are adjourned.